Nationals Park in Washington. Pix 11 Sports presents New York Mets baseball. Today the Mets play the Washington Nationals. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Hyundai. There's no better time to buy a new Hyundai than now. By Spectrum, join America's fastest growing TV, internet, and voice provider. By Land Rover, above and beyond. By Men's Warehouse. For all the latest styles, visit menswarehouse.com. By Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, more science, less fear. And by Honda. Hurry into the Honda Dream Garage sales event today. Drama last night in our nation's capital. The Mets' first visit of the year to Washington and facing Max Scherzer, who had beaten them 5 days earlier. Jacob deGrom fell behind after giving up a couple of home runs in the second, but it was a huge career night for Travis d'Arnaud. A key injury for the Nationals and a big save for the Mets from an unexpected source, putting down the Nationals' biggest threat. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Washington. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling with you today as the Mets play the middle game of their series against the Nats. There was a lot to unpack from last night's 7-5 Met win. Travis d'Arnaud, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. Jacob deGrom, 12 strikeouts. But it all came down to one decision by Terry Collins, an unconventional one in the 9th inning. Bases loaded, 1 out, his closer on the mound. He takes Jay Arrieta out and brings in Josh Edgin to get the save.
You know, Gary, it's one of my favorite games this season. Jay Arrieta, when he came in after Addison Reed gave up the home run. He had a clean inning. It was the bottom of the inning, but he wasn't able to get it through. Gave up 3 runs, and Terry Collins, who then decided really early in the inning, if it gets to Harper, he was going to go with Edgin. And the most unlikely thing happened with the bases loaded. Edgin got him on the slider for the comebacker, the 1-2-3, and the game was over.
Second career save for Edgin. Big spot, a 1-2-3 double play, and getting the Mets a much-needed win, snapping a 6-game losing streak. Now the Mets will try for 2 in a row against the Nats on a hot afternoon in our nation's capital. All the action coming your way on Pix 11. Brought to you by Hyundai, a capital thread here, Ronnie?
Well, the Mets had Terry Collins talked to his team, said to hustle more, 4 stolen bases. Darno, 2 home runs last night. It hasn't been since what? Carter and Piazza before catchers hit 2 go-ahead home runs. And Zimmerman, 21 career home runs versus the Mets, many of them to right and right center, 2 of those last night.
There's your starting lineup for the Mets, brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. And not surprisingly, after the Mets put up 7 runs and 12 hits last night, it's the same lineup that Terry Collins ran out there last night, including Travis d'Arnaud in the 8-hole, where he hit 2 home runs and drove in 5 last night.
Well, it's 85 and sunny for Mr. Strasburg. One thing you'll notice, folks, at home is that he is pitching entirely from the stretch. No windup. He just pitches from the stretch. He's probably throwing harder than he ever has before, but he feels as though his control of his pitches is the best it's ever been.
Michael Conforto set to lead things off. Conforto 1 for 4 last night, and an RBI walk as well. And the first pitch by Strasburg fouled away, and we're underway. Conforto, Cabrera, and Bruce for the Mets on a warm day in D.C. Steven Strasburg hasn't pitched in 9 days. He was on paternity leave. He and his wife Rachel welcomed their 2nd daughter into the world this week. And Conforto takes the pitch high 1-1, and you always wonder with a pitcher who's been off and attending to the birth of his child how much work he got in, whether he's on his regular rhythm when he comes out to pitch.
You're right. There's a combination: regular rhythm, also inspiration to pitch for a new daughter.
This is with a curveball, and it's 2-1 to Conforto. Strasburg, now 28 years old, got off to that phenomenal start last year. He was 13-0 to begin the season, but then wound up with a flexor mass strain that limited him to 24 starts and kept him out of the postseason. Wound up 15-4 for the year with a 3.6 ERA. And his changeup off the plate, and Conforto held the swinging time 3-1. Lance Barksdale with the call down at third.
Conforto doing what you have to do. As a leadoff hitter, you want to see a few pitches from this talented right-hander.
Never had a hit against Strasburg, 0 for 9 with 5 strikeouts, but he's got a 3-1 advantage to start the day. And Conforto flies one foul off the left side, and that'll make it out of play, 3-2.
The one thing you have to be aware of as a hitter is that when Strasburg's out of the stretch all the time now, you know, when he's in the stretch, when people are on, you can sometimes have the high leg kick and the quick pitch, the kind of slide step. He will do that with nobody on, so it's almost like a quick pitch for him.
Always wearing the high socks. Three and 2 to Conforto leading off, and it's hit sharply. Murphy can't get it with the dive, and Conforto's got a leadoff hit. So his first ever hit against Steven Strasburg, just a little too hot for Murphy to get to.
What an at-bat. Gets the count to 3-2, 5 pitches on the 6th pitch. He gets a fastball down, hits it on the button, and they don't play the full shift against Conforto, the Washington Nationals, and that cost Strasburg an out.
So Conforto aboard to start the afternoon, and now is Dribble Cabrera, who had 2 hits last night and 2 stolen bases. Cabrera, who battled a hamstring injury last week, feeling especially frisky last night. And a fastball strike to Cabrera. Cabrera, 2 career home runs and 9 at-bats against Strasburg, who beat the Mets 3 times last year. He was the only pitcher to beat the Mets 3 times in the regular season last year. There's a fastball strike, and it's 0-2, although honorable mention to Madison Bumgarner, who beat them twice in the regular season and beat him in the wild card game.
That's right.
Jay Bruce waiting on deck.
A lot of pitchers have a little hip turn, get that front leg and back of the back leg on the leg kick. Not Strasburg. Picks it up and puts it down.
And a foul tip by Cabrera to stay alive. Well, Strasburg was the #1 overall pick in the draft in 2009. Got to the big leagues the next season and is still one of the most dominant forces in the game.
There's the leg kick. Doesn't really turn like we watched Oliver Perez last night. Show you his whole back of his uniform. Really just, I mean, caveman baseball. Lift it and let it go.
Well, when you've got his arm, why not? Cabrera goes down on strikes. 97-mile-an-hour fastball from Strasburg for the first out of the day.
The Nationals defense brought to you by Infinity. Power, the drive with Jason Worth, Michael A. Taylor, of course, with the terrible injury adding Eaton, Harper, and Wright, Rendon, Turner, Murphy, and Zimmerman at first base. Zimmerman made a couple of throwing errors last night. Jose Lobaton behind the dish got a home run and an RBI against the New York Mets.
Here's Jay Bruce, 1 for 5 last night, a long double to right center that went in and out of Adam Eaton's glove. The word on Eaton that they're saying right now is he has a left knee strain. He's having an MRI today, but it certainly appeared as though it was a serious leg injury. Out to center field, and Taylor goes back, and he has room to make the catch for the second out. Conforto back to first.
Bruce just got under that pitch from Strasburg. I remember the game when Strasburg started, right, Gary, against the Pittsburgh Pirates here at Nationals Park. Struck out 14 in 7 innings. I mean, boy, what a splash he made.
That was 2010. The next year he had the Tommy John surgery. Came back in 12, but they shortened his season, so he couldn't pitch in the postseason. And while he has won 71 and lost 41 in his career, it always seems to be something with Strasburg. Last year it was a flexor strain that limited him to 24 starts. Conforto is running, and he slides in safely without so much as a consideration from Lobaton to throw the ball. So the Mets all of a sudden taking advantage of opportunities to run the bases.
Huge jump. These Mets are not exactly the 1950s go-go White Sox, but they're doing their best in this series so far.
I mean, the Mets had 4 stolen bases all season before last night. They had 4 in last night's game, and now Conforto has his first of the year. He's at second with 2 out, with Neil Walker at the plate. Walker 0 for 4 last night. And the changeup misses, 2-0. Well, there are the innings pitched for Strasburg. Only once in his career has he even come close to 200 innings.
34 starts that year. You know, it's interesting to watch the Mets playing this kind of baseball. 2 reasons. One is they've got enough guys who run well enough to pick their spots and steal bases. And second, so much better than watching that base-to-base video game that they played the first 3 weeks of the season.
Well, it's great to be a home run hitting team, but every once in a while you have to score runs in other fashion as well. 2-0 to Walker with Conforto at second and 2 out. And that's outside. Now it's 3-0 with Granderson waiting on deck.
It just puts undue pressure on the pitcher, as you see Granderson on deck, that he doesn't want to have in the first inning. Guy on second, threat of giving up a run if you give a base hit. Now it's 3-0 to Walker because of that.
And Neal takes a strike, 3-1.
Granderson struggling. I would always let Walker hit 3-0 right now.
See Walker's numbers against Strasburg. Strasburg so far this year has been dominating the lefties. They're hitting just 154 against him through his first 4 starts.
You know, with those pants up high and those big red socks, it really over accentuates the size 18 bullets that he's wearing.
18.
18.
That's big. I mean, it's not Bob Lanier big, but it's big.
Lanier was what, 22?
22. Oh, but then he was, you know, he was 6'11".
I think Shaq was like in the 25, 26 area.
I mean, you know, Strasburg is a big guy, 6'5", but size 18. That's a lot of leather.
Charge you extra for those shoes.
He's worked his way back from 3-0 to a full count to Walker. And Neal pokes one on the ground. Murphy gets in front of this and throws out Walker to end the inning. So Strasburg works around Conforto's leadoff hit. Zach Wheeler takes the mound when we come back. Look today for the first pitch here at Nationals Park. Maki Onuki of the Washington Ballet throwing the first pitch, and Coda Glover is already on the disabled list. Almost had himself another injury.
So in her pirouettes, she lost her shoe, but you know, regular ballet, she wouldn't have to have sneakers on. She'd have.
It's something different. Hey, we've seen 50 Cent throw out the first pitch. This was definitely better than
it was cute.
Trey Turner leads off for the Nats. Neil Walker hasn't played perfectly. One pitch and one out for Zach Wheeler in the bottom of the first. There's the Nats starting lineup. Brought to you by your local Chevy dealers. Visit ChevyOffers.com. Michael Taylor takes over in center field for the injured Adam Eaton. He'll bat second. Jose Lobaton behind the plate. Otherwise, the same group for the Nationals as last night, facing Zach Wheeler.
You know, it's hard for me to always kind of include the career stats of Zach because I feel like he's on his second career. But 2-7 lifetime against the Nats with an ERA over 5. But both wins came here at Nationals Park.
Here's Taylor, who got a lot of playing time 2 years ago because of injuries, less so last year, and just 2 for 21 to start this season. And Taylor rockets one to right center. Granderson will see that one go over his head and short hop the wall. Taylor digging for second and in safely with a one-out double. Michael Taylor is such an enigma because he has such talent, but he just has never been able to put it all together.
Well, I think when he's guessing right and he gets the fastball in a fastball count, he doesn't miss it. We're talking about a guy who's had to hit a home run over 470 feet, has a tremendous power, great speed, has all 5 tools, just hasn't hit the ball that spins yet.
Well, Wheeler trying to avoid the kind of first inning that he had against the Nationals in his last start on Sunday, when he gave up the first inning grand slam to Daniel Murphy. Then he slammed the door and pitched 6 scoreless innings after that, but too little too late. Now we'll face Bryce Harper, who was 1 for 5 last night. Taylor at second and 1 out. Harper leading the league in hitting at .405, leading the league in on base percentage, 3rd in slugging. And a first pitch curveball from Wheeler misses for ball 1.
You keep your eyes open here. We've already seen Wheeler come close to picking someone off at second base, and Taylor's taking a big lead, thinking about stealing, and Cabrera's right behind him, so not too far to the bag.
And 2 curveballs in a row, and Wheeler gets a strike, 1-1. Well, it's all Nats And Charlie Blackmon at the top of the National League RBI list. Figures the Nats are averaging over 6 1/4 runs per game. And Harper takes the fastball outside, 2-1.
Terry Collins had an interesting statement this morning when we were talking to him. He said, hey, listen, if those 3 guys continue to hit the way they're hitting right now, it's going to be really hard to catch them. And he's correct. But the assumption is that they can't do that all year.
Well, I mean, you're talking about Harper, Zimmerman, and Murphy.
Yes.
They're operating at such an incredibly elevated level right now. But it will be interesting to see how missing one of their table setters affects their ability to pile up the runs. I mean, part of what has made the Nationals so effective has been the combination of Eaton and Turner at the top of the batting order getting on base in front of these big guys. We don't know how long Eaton's going to be out, but it sure looked like something fairly serious when he went down last night.
You know, we've seen it happen a couple times with Cespedes and Eaton, and we've been told that both were just kind of strains. We'll see.
That's Sandy Alderson told the media before the game today that Cespedes' injury is not serious. We'll see. Just off the corner to Harper, 3-2.
Good pitch there by Zach, and a good take and good eye by Harper.
Taylor at second and 1 out with Zimmerman waiting on deck, and Wheeler and d'Arnaud having difficult time getting together. So Harper eventually asked for time. You know, if this were the 2016 vintage Ryan Zimmerman on deck, you'd be really careful to Harper here.
Yeah.
But Zimmerman has just been crushing. So it's not like you're going to pitch around Bryce in this spot. 3-2 coming, and he struck him out with a breaking ball. So he started him with curves and he finished him with a curve, and that's the second out.
What a great choice there by Wheeler and d'Arnaud and others, is that on 3-2, even with that base open, you just can't take a chance with Harper right now. He's so red hot. So make a quality pitch with your secondary pitch, and you'll have a chance to get him out. That's more than a quality pitch, though. It's one of his best breaking balls we've seen.
So 2 out, Taylor still at second, and here's Zimmerman, who had 2 home runs last night, both to the opposite field.
Watch the bite to this pitch as he releases it. It's in the strike zone for a while. That's why Harper bites. But boy, the bottom dropped out.
And he stays with the curveball to start Zimmerman. The curve is a pitch that Wheeler, you know, is not featured this year. He's throwing about 12% of the time, but he's leaning on it here in the first inning. Zimmerman hitting at .392 right behind Harper atop the National League. And Wheeler behind him 2-0 with Danny Murphy waiting on deck.
You know, Gary, the one thing that happened to Wheeler in the game where he gave up the grand slam to Murphy is that after that, it's almost like he chucked it and said, hey, I'm going to pitch the rest of the time as long as I'm out here. And he was able to get through 7 innings. He's trying to do that right now in the first inning. And I mean pitch as far as including all of your 4 pitches. But don't forget your bread and butter. His fastball's at 97, 98.
Behind on Zimmerman 2-0. And it's lined into left field, a base hit. Taylor around third and heading home. And Ryan Zimmerman has struck again, an RBI single, and the Nats have the early lead, 1-0.
Well, when you play a series so close together, there's memories. The memories are of Murphy taking Wheeler deep. So that's why Zimmerman gets a pitch to hit. down 2-0. He decided to go after him on the outside part of the plate. And the Mets have had this book on Zimmerman the last 2 seasons when he struggled that you can get him out of the way. He is not struggling now. You got to pitch him in. See how long it takes him to figure that out.
First run of the game brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. So now Murphy, who hit the grand slam off Wheeler last Sunday night, 2 for 4 last night, hitting at .347 for the year. First pitch swinging, and he fouls it back.
That's what Murphy hit last year, isn't it? .347.
That's exactly what he hit. Led the league in slugging last year. Skies one down the line, and Reyes gives it a look, but that's out of play. 0-2. This is that grand slam Sunday night. What a clout.
Boy, that ball was down too, but that's what Murph's strength is. I didn't know hitters congratulate each other that much. That would really irritate me when I was playing. But I threw it.
I think they congratulated each other when you were pitching, maybe not quite as boisterously. Zimmerman at first with 2 out. 0-2 to Murphy, and he skips out of the way of the slider at his feet. 1-2.
Big fan of that. How many times do you see Murphy's feet moved in a game against the Mets? None. Once a series, maybe. There should be more of that.
And what does that accomplish when you do that?
It makes him just a little uncomfortable. You know, when you're in the box and you just sit there and you can't wait to swing the bat and hit a pitch, and then all of a sudden the ball comes up and you have to move. Like, whoa, I got to reboot now. Another one comes in there. Oh, I wonder what he's doing to me. It just makes you think of stuff instead of just being locked in. There you go.
And he gets tied up. He went around, strike 3, inning over. So Wheeler went right back to the back foot slider and gets his second strike out of the inning. But the Nats get a run and lead 1-0. Oh, that's the best part of the whole thing. The Howie and Josh show.
Oh,
well, they are out in force here, aren't they? They were filling up Half Street, which is the block between the metro station and the ballpark here before the game. It was just a sea of orange.
Good for them. I mean, down in the Capitol, and Watching their Metsies play.
Curtis Granderson leading off the second. Curtis's April woes continue. 0 for 5 last night. And it's really happened all 4 of his seasons as a Met, getting off to these struggling starts. Seems to me it was 2 years ago that Granderson didn't hit much early, but he drew a lot of walks, had a fairly decent on base percentage, and then his bat got going. But this year, that's not even happening. 186 on base percentage to start the year.
Yeah, he was the leadoff hitter that year. So
topped foul, and it's 2-2 to Curtis.
When I
Reyes on deck, then T.J. Rivera.
When I watch Curtis hit, and this is certainly not scientific, he gets to swing mode. Like if I were pitching against him, there's some modes where he's going to swing at anything you throw, and then he starts to pigeonhole it. And once he does that, that's when the homers flow.
Flies this one foul off the left side, not a play.
You know, we've spent this week talking about TrackMan and statistics and analytics and all that stuff. If I came into a series against the Mets, I would like to see how many balls that Curtis Granderson is swinging out of the strike zone right now. What percentage? And if the percentage was high, I knew that he's in a little bit of a funk.
But of course, the problem with Curtis right now is even when he's getting his pitch, he's not really producing much.
No, he's done it before, and I don't know if he feels like doing it again. But he started in big slumps, hitting the ball the other way, getting his hits. You know, a hit here, hitting a walk there, and that kind of got him going. Maybe he could do that again.
7th pitch of the at bat coming from Strasburg, and he moves him back to fill the count. .294 home runs, 30 of them last year. Only 1 so far this year. Three-two. Line to center. Taylor has it measured. 1 out.
Now that's a good at bat. You know, line drive, not hit right on the nose, but hit pretty good.
So while Granderson still has not gotten it going, Jose Reyes has shown signs the last few days that maybe his fortunes are going to perk up. He's hit in 4 straight games, 6 for 14 over that stretch, 2 hits last night. And it's taken that to get him up to 156, which gives you an idea where he's been. And Strasburg starts him off with a curveball, 0-1. Strasburg came to the big leagues as a fastball, curveball, changeup pitcher, and then a couple of years ago developed a slider as an extra weapon. Off the fists, a little looper for Rendon, and that's the 2nd out. But it seems as though he's backed away from using that slider, and you see, compared to last year, he's using it only half as much as he did. Increasing use of the changeup, which I've always thought is his best secondary pitch.
Well, he talked about he felt as though of all the pitches that he throws, the slider puts the most strain on his arm, and he's thinking that coming into the season, how could he stay healthier? And he thought eliminating the slider, or the percentage on how he uses the slider, might be a part of that.
Here's T.J. Rivera, who had a good night last night. Went 2 for 4, a double, a stolen base, 3 runs scored. Rivera getting a 2nd straight start at first base, where he had never started in his big league career before last night. Out to right center, and Taylor is over, and that retires the side. So Strasburg sets the Mets down 1-2-3 after getting the lead. 1-0 Nats in the 2nd. Was brought to you by Heineken. Open your world. Enjoy Heineken responsibly. Home second inning. Anthony Rendon will lead off against Zach Wheeler, who gave up a run in the first, a double to Michael Taylor, a 2-out hit to Ryan Zimmerman. Rendon 1 for 3 last night, trying to get his season jump started, hitting at .235. And he takes a fastball first strike.
I'm going to ask Dusty Baker tomorrow. You and I were talking about Rendon struggling. Wouldn't it be a nice spot since he's been injured? Put him in that second slot in front of Harper, Zimmerman, and Murphy. He's going to get some pitches to hit.
Well, he's got Taylor there today, and you know the Nats had been wanting to move Trey Turner to the leadoff spot anyway, and not the way they wanted it to happen. But so now he's hitting leadoff, and I know Dusty, kind of an old school guy. He likes to have that speed in the second spot with a guy like Taylor, but Taylor's never shown a great ability to get on base.
Well, we would be remiss if we don't wish Adam Eaton well. That was a incredible hustle play by him that might have cost him some time on the DL.
You know, it's one of those things where you hit the bag awkwardly, which is what Eaton did, and so the ankle turns, but then that entire leg becomes vulnerable, and it turns out it's the knee more than the ankle that they're concerned about. Supposed to have an MRI today, and they should know more by the end of the day. This is the play last night in the 9th inning with Familia on the mound.
Just hustling down the line, big part of the game, trying to get his team a comeback. And you saw the knee kind of buckle there when he hit the bag, so that left knee. He's a gamer. You like to see those guys playing every day.
Well, he was their key acquisition in the offseason. They gave up a lot to get him. And the one thing that Dusty said before the game today is that A, Bryce Harper is not going to move back to center field, and B, Trey Turner is not going to move back to center field. They both played there in the past. Your health report brought to you by Northwell Health. Look north.
He would say that if he was the Mets manager. Things are very fungible with the Mets. It could change day to day.
Rendon takes just off the plate as Wheeler misses with the slider. 3-2.
Interesting. Lance Barksdale last night had a pretty big plate as far as benefiting the pitchers, and John Tumpane a little more, how would you say it,
reticent.
Well, it's in a Constitution town. When you look at the Constitution, straight and narrow.
He's an originalist.
There you go.
Rendon draws the walk. The first given up by Wheeler.
Well, here's a look at the Tri-Honda Mets defense. Michael Conforto, Curtis Granish, and Jay Bruce. Reyes, Cabrera, Walker, and Rivera at first. Cabrera and Walker have been moving a little slow. Wonder if it's just the April weather now that it's beautiful. Maybe it can change. Travis d'Arnaud, back-to-back games. Why wouldn't you after that offensive night he had last night?
I just want you to know that when Keith does these games, it doesn't usually take until, you know, the second batter of the second inning to get to the defense.
Well, the Mets didn't play the first inning with the defense, so we had to wait till they brought the defense out.
Here's Jason Word, and he takes a strike. By the way, Keith made it known that he wanted us to acknowledge him tacitly during the broadcast today, but I don't know how to do that.
Like Carol Burnett with the ear pull for her children, or?
I was thinking during during our open, if he had a basketball number. You know how in college basketball you can't have numbers above 5, so the referees can give the hand signals. If he was 14 instead of 17, I could have done it.
Okay.
But 17's hard. I mean, you can do it with 2 hands, but you have to get creative.
By then, the opening is done.
Too late.
Well, I know Keith texted me to give you a hug today on your birthday. I did not give you a hug because you're a little bit under the weather, so we're trying to stay away from each other here.
You're a germaphobe.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes. But happy birthday, my man.
Thank you. It's I'm embarking on my 60th year now. That's scary. That's Keith territory there.
There you go. What is it? Quinquagenarian. So this is your last year as a quinquagenarian. All the way through to 60.
I'll take your word for it. 2-1 to Worth with Lobaton on deck. And the slider off the plate. And Wheeler, after walking Rendon, now behind Worth, 3-1. Zach had only walked 6 batters total through his first 4 starts this year. Worth was 0 for 4 last night. And he takes a big rip at a fastball. 3-2.
You know, Worth has always been famous for a couple of things. Not driving trucks, but he's been famous for being able to hit the ball the other way. Also, he's a guy that takes a lot of pitches. But to me, he looks like he's in home run swing mode every time he's up.
Worth now 37 years old. Rendon at first and nobody out. He's running, and Worth grounds one down to third. Reyes is going to have to go to first with it. So Dusty Baker, by sending Rendon, stays out of the double play and gets a runner in scoring position with 1 out.
Both teams very perky here on this day game after a night game. Like to see it.
Yeah, usually things start a little slow. These day games, especially after a 3.5-hour tilt last night. Here's Jose Lobaton. Lobaton has just 2 hits this year, but one of them was a home run against the Mets. Lobaton making his 6th start, backing up Matt Wieters, who caught last night and hit a 2-run homer. How many teams have 2 switch hitting catchers? That's ripped to right field. Bruce steadies and makes the grab for the 2nd out.
Yeah, most teams, when they constitute their roster, if their #1 catcher is from one side, they try to can't always do it, have the backup catcher from the other side. And that's, of course, #1 and #2 are right and right.
Zach Wheeler now 26 years old. Last start, he gave up that grand slam in the first inning to Murphy, and then nothing after that. He'll be very happy if he can get through 7 and give up nothing after the first today. Facing Strasburg now is 0 for 8 this year. Lifetime 152 hitter. Rendon at 2nd and 2 out, and Strasburg with a half swing. It's a strike, 0-1.
Strasburg is a big guy. He's got some pop. Only 1 home run, but he puts on some shows here in batting practice, so can't just lay it in there.
And he should be able to hit, because his childhood idol growing up in San Diego, who later became his college coach, is Tony Gwynn.
Well, I mean, nobody hits like Tony. Boy, I sure miss him.
But I mean, he had the Tony Gwynn posters and the uniforms and the whole thing from the time he was 4 years old growing up in San Diego. 1-2 to Strasburg.
You know, in today's game, you know, we have these shifts because hitters hit into the shifts. Tony was an artist with the bat. He really could place the ball anywhere he wanted to.
Like a magic wand.
Yes, it was.
Specialized in the 5.5 hole, as he used to call it. Well, every time the Nats have had a runner at second base here in the first 2 innings, seems as though Wheeler and d'Arnaud have had trouble getting together on the signs. And now d'Arnaud needs a conversation.
You know, the Mets are going through some of this, and we've seen it over and over. So how do you fix this? So I'm not about, you know, continuing to do this, because this just upsets the tempo of the game, of the pitcher. There has to be more affirmative action by the Mets pitchers to try to call the sign, and if Travis doesn't like it, he can change it.
Well, is part of the issue that a lot of the pitchers are called from the dugout?
Yeah, that's, it's how baseball is going.
1-2 coming. Just off the corner. 2-2.
I'm a contrarian by nature. That would have been a sticking point for me in a game. That was part of the pride of being a pitcher, is that you call your own game. So at the end, you're responsible for a good game or a poor game.
But it leads to an interesting dynamic, right? If the bench calls a pitch and the catcher calls it and the pitcher disagrees with it, you're not just disagreeing with your catcher, you're disagreeing with your manager or pitching coach.
Disagreeing with them, and also the catcher doesn't have the feeling that the pitch he put down is the pitch he wanted. So where do you go from that? The bench called that pitch. You don't want that pitch. I have no idea what to call now.
Well, quarterbacks used to call their own plays too.
That's right. Yeah, but Wheeler's not wearing a headset.
Well, he's staying with the breaking stuff against Strasburg, treating him like a real threat. And now he's gone to a full count. Trey Turner waiting on deck. 4 batters in this inning. 3 of them have taken Wheeler to a full count. And Strasburg fouls off the fastball. .21 pitches already in this inning for Zach. And Strasburg shoots one foul into the netting.
Well,
the netting was there.
Yeah, they've got extended netting here, which is a great idea. That would have been a problem in the stands, and instead it becomes no issue at all.
Well, the recommendation from Major League Baseball was that every team extend the netting to the ends of the dugout. Some teams have, and some teams have not. This will be the 9th pitch of the at-bat coming from Wheeler to Strasburg. And he fouls off another one.
For an example between the pitcher and the catcher, I had a game in Oakland 100 years ago. Jamie Quirk was catching a guy with a catch once every 2 weeks. And we had a great game, shut out the whole thing. And he came to the mound and we gave each other a big hug. Like, we both were great today, weren't we? Like, that simpatico feeling of doing it together. Boy, it forges a bond that I'll have with Jamie Quirk until the day I die.
Strasburg tops one down to Reyes, and the running throw in time to end the inning. A leadoff walk. Wheeler with some hard work gets around it. After 2 in DC, as you look at Embassy Row, 1-0 Nationals. many places to visit in D.C. Sometimes you can forget about some of them. This is the Air and Space Museum, which is a fascinating place to go. Takes you from the Wright brothers all the way through the moon landings and beyond. I'm not sure what the deal is with the music.
Were you like me? You and I are the same age. Were you ever want to be? Did you ever want to be an astronaut at some point?
I wouldn't say that exactly, but I was totally into the space program. Mercury and Gemini and Apollo. And
I was too. My dad was in the Air Force, so I remember going to him once and said, "Dad, I want to be an astronaut." He goes, "You can't be an astronaut, son." So what are you talking about? He goes, "You got to be like 5'8" or shorter. You can't be tall and be in that."
And you can't be nearsighted.
And can't be nearsighted. I can't see.
Both of us were
too tall
by the time we were 5 years old.
Really, no mathematical talent, and a little fear of heights.
And then there's the close quarters.
Oh,
Mercury would have been perfect for you. All by yourself up there.
Having to share the tang, that would kill me.
But you could have been Alan Shepard or John Glenn.
That's right.
You know,
by yourself.
The solo mission. That worked well for each of us.
I need to be on the Mercury flights. You're right.
Travis d'Arnaud leading off in the third. And he goes after the curveball from Strasburg, 0-2. Who's Hot brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Look at that. Travis d'Arnaud already with as many RBIs in April of 2017 as he had in all of 2016. Strike three called. So it took Strasburg 3 pitches to dispose of d'Arnaud for his second strikeout. By the way, Strasburg, who has been a national for his entire big league career, now has 1,115 strikeouts, which is the second most in the history of the franchise that started in Montreal.
Oh, in Montreal. Okay. Doesn't include the Senators.
No, that's a different franchise.
Of course,
No, but the Montreal Washington franchise, Strasburg is #2 all-time in strikeouts behind Steve Rogers, who had over 1,600 strikeouts as an Expo. And as far as strikeout rate, Strasburg has the second highest in history behind Randy Johnson among pitchers who made 150 starts.
Yeah, I had around 1,600, so he's going to pass that easily. Randy Johnson, Kerry Wood, Sale now, and the great Pedro.
By the way, Sale's looking pretty good in a Red Sox uniform.
Yeah, but he might go 5-15 with the offense they got working over there. Did you hear Xander Bogaerts' comment? They said, "What's wrong with the offense, Xander?" He said, "Well, Big Papi."
Well, they do miss that bat. And he says he's not coming back.
He'll be back right after the All-Star break.
You think?
Oh, yes.
Gonna pull a Clemens?
Yes.
Wheeler rips one into right center. That's a base hit. Taylor over to play it, and Zach has his second hit of the year. His first as a pitcher. Remember, his first hit came as a pinch hitter.
How about the Mets pitchers back-to-back games with base hits? DeGrom last night, and Wheeler, nice swing.
Well, you know, there was a time a couple of years ago when the Met pitchers had to carry the offense. They're not in that mood right now, but they can all hit. Here's Conforto, who had the first Met hit. A single into right center. He stole a base in the first inning, and he grounds one down to Zimmerman. Out at first. Tag play at second. Wheeler didn't slide, but he gets in safely. I don't think Zach had any idea what was going on behind him, and did not slide, but somehow beat the tag by Turner.
You know, this is the second time we've seen it by Mets pitchers. Remember, Robert Gsellman was in the same boat here.
I mean, you got to slide.
You have to slide every single time. Every time. So that makes it easy, right? If you have to slide every time, you don't have to think about it. Because even if the Zimmerman chose to go to Turner and then back to first for the 3-6-3, that means you still have to take out Turner. So every time you need to slide.
Or at least get down to get out of the way of the return throw. The Nats are going to challenge the call. They feel as though Turner got the tag on Wheeler before his foot hit the bag. I'm not sure about that. But Washington has opted to challenge.
You know, TJ Rivera didn't, despite an amazing night last night by TJ, he didn't slide on a stand-up double. Boy, he's out.
Let's see.
Watch the left leg. Watch the left leg. No, I'm wrong.
Oh.
I'm wrong. I think he had his foot on there first before the tag. From that angle.
Could go either way. Play under review brought to you by Mazda. Dana DeMuth's crew and Brian Gorman's crew are working in the replay center in Chelsea.
It's funny, from that angle he looks out, and from the other angle he looks really safe.
I think it's a hard one to overturn. I think it's one of those where you would anticipate that the call on the field is going to rule, but you know, we've guessed wrong on so many of these, it's hardly seems worth trying at this point. He looks safe there.
Yeah. We need a device to have the fans weigh in.
Oh, that would be good.
Right? While we're doing this thing, let the fans weigh in real quickly. We can see, you know, what the percentage is.
Well, except that, you know, fans in the stands here, majority Nationals fans, folks watching our broadcast, majority Mets fans. So,
oh, you think they'd have some bias then? They wouldn't be.
What do you think? Come on.
But it still doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, you have to slide, and I just don't understand why in today's game. You know, it's kind of a country club game now where at times there's not that hard play that there should be.
You know what I do like? I like that Strasburg is throwing warm-up pitches during this delay, because you don't see every pitcher do that, and they have let the call stand, so the Nats lose their challenge.
Ryan, because of the shoulder issues, and has now got the whooping crane kind of throw that he throws to second base. Almost like a softball player.
Whooping crane, huh?
It's just like a.
Oh, we've seen Cespedes throw that ball underhand.
Right.
So Wheeler's at second with 2 out. A chance for Asdrubal Cabrera to get him in. Cabrera struck out his first time up and takes a strike. Keeping the ball inside on Cabrera. 1-1. Strasburg comes off a win against the Braves in his last start. It was 9 days ago. 7 innings, 10 strikeouts, a 3-2 win.
Yeah, I like how Strasburg works. There's not a lot of drama with him. He just gets it and throws it, doesn't he? Works pretty quickly.
Well, especially now that he's not using the windup at all. It's much more compact. And staying with the off-speed stuff, falls behind Cabrera, 3-1.
You know, we have a lot of abbreviated kind of windup. Syndergaard does it, Arrieta and others. I wouldn't be surprised that the windup as we used to know it as kids will be something that'll be non-existent here within the next 5 years.
Of course, when we grew up, you know, hands over the head were a big thing. That's almost gone now. Late swing by Cabrera on the fastball, 3-2. Remember Paul Bird brought it back?
He did.
With the that exaggerated hands over the head windup. But he was really the last one.
Strasburg's got a lot of movement. Ball running away from the lefties so far this afternoon.
Three and 2 to Cabrera. Jay Bruce would be next. And Asdrubal pops one up. Turner out, Taylor in. And Taylor puts it away to retire the side. A hit and one left. As Dribble not happy about that at bat. 1-0 Nats. Well, if you're a news junkie, this is the place for you. The Newseum in Washington traces the history of all manner of media and news coverage over the years. They've got some old newspapers in there from 1700s. That's right. Fascinating to look at. Newspapers, kids, those are the things on paper that you get every day.
Could occasionally leave a little stain on your fingers if you read the whole paper.
Trey Turner leads off in the home third and takes a curve inside from Zach Wheeler. 1-1. Wheeler's had to do some heavy lifting over the first 2 innings. 40 pitches to get through the first 2. But it's been ever thus with Zach since he got to the big leagues. He's never been a guy who's been able to get quick outs.
You know, I was asked, what do you see from Wheeler now that you didn't see before? Not too much difference, you know. He's got electric stuff. I'm always trying to get to a point where his secondary stuff is more consistent, and it takes him a few pitches to get through innings.
He walked the leadoff hitter in the second. This is not a guy you want to walk leading off an inning, but he does, and Turner is on. And now he's going to have to deal with Turner's stolen base ability. Around the Majors brought to you by Champions of Cash, the new scratch off from the New York Lottery. Freddie Freeman last night, 2-run homer in the 9th inning in a wild game. Lifted the Braves over the Brewers 10-8 in Milwaukee. 8 home runs this month for Freddie. Only one Braves player in the last 15 years has had more than that at the end of April.
I mean, that's a pretty good comeback. How about the Yankees comeback?
Well, down 9-1. Come back and win it 14-11.
9-1, 11-4.
Well, Aaron Judge has proved to be everything that they thought Gary Sanchez was going to be.
They had an exit velo of him last night, 119 miles per hour. Plus,
they said it was the highest exit velocity of any ball hit since StatCast began, which is now in its 3rd year.
Have you been around him? Have you seen the giant of a man that he is? Yeah.
Was he 6'7", 260?
Well, you were doing games then. You remember Billy Ashley and how big he is? Kind of that size of man.
Michael Taylor drove a double to right center his first time up. And he takes a slider for a strike. 1-1. Taylor got in the game last night as a pinch runner in the 9th inning. At one point, Dusty Baker had 3 pinch runners on base at the same time, which you know, you might see in a September game with expanded rosters, but not often in April. Grounded toward the hole, a base hit for Taylor. Turner pulls in at second, and the Nats have the first 2 men on with their big bats coming up. And Taylor is 2 for 2.
Well, getting a chance to play maybe for the extended future. And Michael Taylor gets off to a quick start.
So now Bryce Harper will step in. Wheeler struck him out on a 3-2 curveball his first time up. So more pitches out of the stretch under duress for Zach Wheeler. Gave up a run in the first, got around a leadoff walk in the second. Now the first 2 men on in the third.
Well, you got to be aware. Turner can steal. Taylor's got great speed. I mean, if they don't double steal with Harper with no outs, they will with Zimmerman. They might let Harper swing the bat.
Such a unique experience watching Bryce Harper hit.
Well, you know, he falls backwards, which gets the backspin and gets the ball in the air. He also comes off the ball like his body and right hip goes towards first base. But he's somehow able to keep the bat in the zone.
Well, there are times when he will become vulnerable to the ball away.
Yeah.
But when he's going good like he is right now, he can take that ball to left field.
I mean, the swing looks perfect until the follow through. So does that follow through have anything to do with the swing once he's in the strike zone? That's the issue.
Wheeler's got him down in the count 0-2. And he bounces one. Darno with the block. 1-2.
Well, DeGrom had his way with him on the fastballs up and away, but DeGrom was throwing 96, 97 most of the evening.
Well, Zach got him with the curveball the first time. Tries to dot the outside corner and misses. 2-2.
When he's struggling a little bit like he was last year, he swings at that pitch and misses it. Taking it now. Baton death march for Wheeler and Darno. Taking a long time to get the right sign and go.
Seems every time there's a runner at second base, it just slows to a crawl. Turner at second, Taylor at first with nobody out. And Harper takes strike 3 call. Got him on the inside edge for the first out of the inning. Third strikeout for Wheeler. Second time he's gotten Harper.
Boy, what a good pitch that was. The pitch sequence, fastball away, swung through from Harper. Another one to get up 0-2. Bounces a slider, then goes back outside with a fastball. Just missed. Off that fastball away, he came inside. Up and away, down and in for a strike. perfect sequence of pitches there by Zach Wheeler.
Well, Harper has now struck out 5 times in the first 2 games of this series. 1 out in the inning. Here's Zimmerman, who laced a base hit to drive in the only run of this game, and Wheeler spins him around.
Be careful here. You got to keep Turner and Taylor in the back of your mind. Turner wants to go.
Turner stole 33 bases in half a season with the Nats last year. 1-1 to Zimmerman. Well, it is interesting. You know, you've talked about how comfortable Nats hitters have looked against the Mets the last few years. And here's Wheeler, who's thrown a couple of back foot sliders to Murphy and now moved Zimmerman off the plate.
I like it.
One. Skied along the left field line. A long run for Conforto. And can't quite get there as he went into the slide. And I think it hit him in the leg.
Good hustle and good try by Michael.
And nobody else had a chance to get there. Conforto has really specialized in making plays in foul territory over the last couple of weeks. He had some support down there too. I know you don't want anybody touching.
Say hello. Don't touch him. Say hello. That's it.
Now Wheeler's up in the count on Zimmerman 1-2. And again, a lengthy protocol for d'Arnaud and Wheeler to try and get together on the signs. Dan doesn't look happy. Here's the 1-2. And then the slider away. 2-2 to Zimmerman.
When I first came to the major leagues, Mike Torres, a very accomplished pitcher with the A's and Yankees, of course, the Mets, when I was there, he used to use a wipe system. So whatever the catcher called, let's say he called a curveball, he would just do 2 wipes to get it to a changeup. Because 1 is fastball, 2 is curve, 3 is slider, 4 or wiggle is changeup. He would use the wipe system so he wouldn't have to get multiple signs from the catcher.
Fouled into the ground. Well, is that something that a pitcher with less experience would conceive of doing?
I think they would be nervous about doing it. But it would be something I'd work on if I were them, if they want to get their tempo quickened.
Again, the 2-2, and Zimmerman pokes one down to first. Nice play by Rivera to get the out. That ball appeared headed down the line, but T.J. Rivera, making just his 2nd career start at first base, makes a nice glove hand pick to get the 2nd out of the inning.
Boy, what a nice play by Rivera, who was behind Michael Taylor at first base. And he had to go to his right, and this ball was scorched. And with the big glove, and not a lot of experience with the big glove, he makes the play. I mean, that's 2 runs in if that ball gets by him.
So now you've got first base open. Daniel Murphy coming up. Anthony Rendon behind him. So the Mets intentionally walk Murphy. And Rendon will come up with the bases loaded. Dan Roythan out to talk to Wheeler about going after Rendon, who drew a walk his first time up. So a watershed moment in this game for Zach Wheeler. He's about to throw his 60th pitch, working in the 3rd inning. He's found himself in trouble in all 3 innings. Thus far, only down 1-0, but this is the batter that he needs to get to keep himself in contact in this game. Bases loaded, 2 out. And Rendon takes the fastball low for ball 1. One and 0 has been something of a permanent condition for Zach today.
Yeah, we showed the numbers before are glaring. Under 200 when he has an 0-1 count, and 300 or so when he's got a 1-0.
And now 2-0. Rendon has good numbers against Wheeler. 7 hits in 19 career at bats. And Wheeler has painted himself into a corner. And now it's 3-0.
Just that 3 consecutive sliders he's thrown Rendon, who couldn't catch up to DeGrom's fastball yesterday. You know, if your pitching coach comes and pays you a visit, probably the conversation centered around that, making sure that he stayed soft, but he's got himself in trouble doing that.
He's got no choice now. He's got to come after Rendon with the bases loaded. And taking all the way, a call strike. Jason Worth would be next.
There's times in a game as a pitcher you have to say, hey, listen, this guy's hitting 235 for a reason. I'm throwing hard enough. Make a quality pitch with a fastball for a strike. Let him put it in play. Let's see if we can make a play.
And Rendon slams it foul, and it's 3-2. "24 pitches in the 2nd inning, 24 more in the 3rd inning for Zach Wheeler. And at least 1 more to make. The merry-go-round will be in motion. Turner at 3rd, Taylor at 2nd, Murphy at 1st will all be running. Three and 2 to Rendon. Line center field. Granderson makes the grab, side retired. A bullet off the bat of Rendon, but it stayed up for Granderson, and Wheeler somehow finds his way out of trouble in the 3rd inning. First 2 men got on. Comes inside to strike out Bryce Harper. Then a sparkler of a defensive play from T.J. Rivera at first base. And a bullet off the bat of Rendon for the 3rd out to keep it a 1-0 game. Presidents are here to greet the Met fans as they come into Nationals Park. It's always good to see the New York folk and the DC folk getting along, especially the folks in high places. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Mazda. Driving matters. Jay Bruce leads off the fourth inning against Steven Strasburg. Bruce hit one deep to center field his first time up that was caught, and he takes the pitch low for ball one. Bruce, Walker, and Granderson against Strasburg, who was at a far less stressful go of it over the first 3 innings than has Zach Wheeler. Just got to give Zach credit. Somehow he's gotten through these first 3 innings with only 1 run against him. Inside to Bruce, 2-0. I saw a startling statistic today. You know, the Mets are a team that's built around pitching, and their pitching has, been pretty good, maybe not world beating so far. But the Mets have allowed at least 3 runs in each of their last 16 games. Think about that.
Yeah.
You've got a dominant pitching staff. You'd figure every once in a while there'd be a shutout, a 1-run game in there. 16 straight games. It's the longest streak they've had of allowing at least 3 runs since 2011. Last year, the longest streak they had of allowing 3 runs was 7 games. It'll pop up into shallow center. Taylor started back, now comes on, and retires Bruce, 1 away.
It's a good point, Gary, and considering that their record when they score 4 or less runs is just so bad. So, when you have that combination that you're not winning those close, low-scoring games, and your team is not providing you with those, you expect at some point Harvey's going to throw 6 or 7 shutout innings, followed by DeGrom, and that hasn't happened yet. Now, listen, it's April, and these pitching staffs, when they get on a roll, can sometimes make it go.
Well, tomorrow Noah Syndergaard is going to take the ball. Refused an MRI, said my arm is fine, and asked Terry Collins what he expects from Syndergaard. He said, expect him to go get him tomorrow.
I like Sandy Alderson's quote. They asked him about refusing the MRI. He goes, what do you want us to do, strap him down?
Can't shove him in the tube, he said. That's a big guy to get in that MRI tube, too. Murphy throws out Walker, and that's the second out. So Syndergaard will be on the hill tomorrow to make the start against Joe Ross, who we saw as a pinch runner last night.
Ross is a young man. They're waiting for him to take hold. He's got outstanding stuff, like his brother Tyson Ross, an outstanding slider.
Is Tyson supposed to pitch at any point this year?
Yes, he is. In fact, he's supposed to be coming back soon for the Texas Rangers, I believe.
2 out and nobody on. Now Granderson, who lined out to center field his first time, and Strasburg runs one inside, ball 1.
So there's a dichotomy here. Do you see how quickly Strasburg is working, as opposed to, I know Zach's had people on bases. That's a little different. But it's almost, he gets the ball, he stands on the mound. Within 3 seconds, the ball's coming to the plate again. That only helps you as a pitcher. That tempo
helps the pitcher, helps the fielders.
It really does help the fielders.
One and 2 to Granderson. It's the best way to start your weekday. Join Suki, Scott, and the Pix 11 News team with breaking news as it happens, plus all the latest weather and traffic 5 to 9 on the Pix 11 Morning News, New York's very own. Mets have had just 2 base runners. Conforto singled in the first. Wheeler singled in the third. 1-2 from Strasburg, and Granderson pops this one up. Lobaton along the line, and that retires the side. Mets are down 1-2-3 in the top of the 4th. Wheeler will head back to the mound for more work. 1-0 Nationals. Day, showing the sights and sounds of our nation's capital.
I like that.
Washington Monument to the Jefferson Memorial. We showed Tom last night peeking out from the Jefferson Memorial. Today's high-speed pitch comes from Fios. Visit getfios.com. Both these right-handers have hit 96 on the gun today. Nats with a 1-0 lead. Wheeler hoping for his first easy inning of the day as he faces the lower third of the order. Jason Worth grounded out to third base his first time up. Took Wheeler 65 pitches to negotiate the first 3 innings. And a curveball, and Worth able to hold the swing, 1-1.
Well, whoever's taking those beauty shots of Washington, we appreciate it. Did you see when the Mets come back July 3rd, 4th, and 5th? The game on the 4th is at 11:05 a.m.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It's like Patriots Day in Boston.
There you go. So 11:05.
I'm not sure that I've ever done an 11:05 game before.
Terry talking to the media at 8 a.m. Get ready.
Or not talking at all if he's smart. Start getting your rest now. And again, Wheeler falls behind, 3-1. He's walked the leadoff hitter in each of the last 2 innings. Rendon in the second, Turner in the third, and that's just created more headaches for himself. Lobaton on deck. 3-1 coming to Worth. And it's fouled away. I know when they first started playing some noon games at Shea, Bob Murphy would say that it was too early for him. He couldn't do it.
Well, he always did do it.
He did it, but he was not happy about it.
Murph wasn't feeling 100% till at least afternoon or 1 o'clock.
And then he was in full voice. 3-2 coming. And outside ball 4, and for the 3rd straight inning, Wheeler's walked the leadoff hitter. How about that? 4th walk given up by Zach today. I mean, there's nothing you can do to create more stress for yourself as a pitcher than constantly walking that first hitter. And now Lobaton, who had a bullet to right field that Bruce caught his first time up. I mean, Zach's been fortunate in some ways. He had that hard hit ball by Lobaton with a runner in scoring position. He had the fine play by Rivera and the line drive by Rendon that Granderson caught in the last inning.
Well, even Zach, when he was at his best before injury, always conveniently wild was kind of one of his traits.
Well, I seem to remember that in his major league debut in Atlanta, didn't he walk the first 2 batters?
I think so.
And then he went on to throw 6 scoreless innings, right?
To get doused with beer.
Yep. In his hometown. It was perfect. Just off the corner to Lobaton, 1-1.
I think what happens when you're young in your career, and people say, well, he's had a lot of starts, but young in his second career, how's that sound? Because I think you give the hitters way too much credit, and you're pitching around the periphery of the strike zone, which gets you in trouble.
Well, this is Zach's 54th career start, so that's really less than 2 seasons when you think about it. And of course, he missed all of 2015 and 2016. Tommy John surgery and its complications. Lobaton fouls it back, 2-2. Well, there's the Nats first base coach David Lopes, one of the terrific base stealers in Major League history. And he has become quite the treasured base running coach during his tenure with the Phillies and now with the Nats.
Well, it's got to be nice for Dusty, old friends and former teammates. And I still think one of the most remarkable things ever, Davey Lopes, when he was 40 years old, stole 46 bases for the Chicago Cubs. 46. Rhode Island guy.
Not too many of those.
No.
Another 3-2 count for Wheeler. There goes Worth. Lobaton strikes out. Darno's throw on a hops, trickles by Cabrera, and now Are they going to call obstruction? The throw goes to third, and Worth is tagged, but I think they're going to give him the base on obstruction, no?
Well, the Angel Hernandez at second base is calling him out.
Well, I don't understand that, because Cabrera was certainly in his way as Worth tried to get up and get to third base.
And I think that's one of the reasons that Worth took off, even after he was upset by Cabrera there. He took off because he figured that I had a freebie. It's like a quarterback having a freebie after an offside by the defense.
I mean, I saw Angel make the indication. I just assumed he was calling obstruction because that appeared to be a clear-cut case where Cabrera was in Worth's way as he was trying to advance on the bases, and now Angel trying to explain to Dusty Baker why it's not obstruction.
It's absolutely obstruction, because if Worth wasn't upended, he would have made it to third. Because he was upended by Cabrera, he wasn't able to make it to third, and Angel's in the middle of something.
Well, this is a play that I don't believe is reviewable, and so we get what we rarely get these days, a manager out in the field arguing with an umpire.
But what I would like is to get the umpires together, and I think that's what Dusty is asking. Why don't you just get together and figure this out? But it's not going to matter. Well,
3 of the umpires are now in the neighborhood, but Dusty's not getting any satisfaction. The crew chief, Ted Barrett, came over to be part of the discussion.
Well, think about it this way. If you're going to go to the next base and the fielder is obstructing you from going to the next base, and you're thrown out at that base where you would have been safe, that's got to be obstruction.
Well, once you call obstruction, you're supposed to give the runner the next base.
Right.
And I assume that's what Angel was indicating, but apparently not. So it goes as a stolen base for Worth, and then he is thrown out. Walker made the throw, so it's 4-5 on the play at third base.
So he gets up. If he's not upended, I'm not saying he 100% gets to third, but it would have been a close play at third.
Ronnie, I'm not sure it matters. I mean, once obstruction is called, it doesn't matter whether he would have made it or not. I don't think that's part of the judgment. It's just the obstruction gives you the next base. That's the penalty. Strasburg fouls it off. Well, the upshot for Wheeler is it gives him a chance to get an easier inning.
What's Angel call here? Let's take a look at Angel instead of the players.
He's pointing at Cabrera.
That's obstruction.
I'm assuming that's what he's calling, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what Dusty Baker thought too, and Jason Worth, which is why Worth got up and ran to third, where he was thrown out by 20 feet, but thought he was entitled to the base. Strasburg gets a comebacker, and Wheeler finally has himself a quicker inning. Jason Worth still steaming about that one. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Jason. I really do.
That's great.
his way out to his position to talk with the crew chief Ted Barrett about that non-obstruction call.
Well, what the argument will be is that it's a baseball play. Both the Worth and Cabrera came into the same spot, got tangled up, and it's not obstruction. My problem is that once Worth got up to proceed, Cabrera obstructed him from going to third base.
Well, this is the rule. The act of a fielder not in possession of the ball and not in the act of fielding impedes the progress of the runner, and that would be my contention. Is that once the ball gets by Cabrera, he's not fielding the ball anymore. The ball's in center field, so he is not entitled to the right of way. Worth is. But that's not the way the umpire saw it.
I mean, Cabrera was getting up to run out to get the baseball and hit the helmet of Worth with his knee or leg.
Which is not the act of fielding the ball.
No, it's act of running after a ball.
Exactly. In any event, the Mets got the benefit of the call, and it remains a 1-0 game as we start the fifth with Jose Reyes, who popped up his first time up. And the curveball misses high, 1-1. TJ Rivera on deck, then Travis d'Arnaud for the Mets in the fifth. Mets have managed just 2 singles against Strasburg over the first 4 innings. He hasn't walked a batter, struck out only 2 through the first 4 innings, which is unusual for him. Reyes bluffing the bunt. Rendon was already playing in. 2-1.
Reyes laid down a bunt last night, and Rendon made a nice play, or Reyes would have 3 hits.
There's a strike, 2-2. First day we've had with a real summery feel to it. 85 degrees at game time. Reyes breaks his bat and dumps one into right field for a base hit. That's when you know your fortunes are turning. It's 5 straight games with a hit for Jose Reyes, and the Mets have their 3rd hit of the day.
And the first time up, he got jammed and hit a pop-up to the third baseman. This time he got jammed, but got enough to muscle it into right field.
So Reyes aboard at first. He stole a base last night, has 3 for the year. TJ Rivera at the plate, flied out his first time up today. And Rivera hits one out to left field, chasing Worth back over his head and off the base of the wall. Reyes to third. He'll stop there. The throw comes to second. TJ slides in with a double, and the Mets have second and third and nobody out. TJ Rivera jumping on the first pitch. Drills his second double in this series.
Rivera just keeps on hitting. Little hanging slider in the middle of the plate. Rivera beats Worth over his head in the gap. The ball hit the fence and bounced right back to Worth, or Reyes might have scored, and he made a closer play at second base. Barehanded. Seen Cespedes do that a few times. That throw was on line. Had been a very close play at second.
So second and third and nobody out. Travis d'Arnaud, the batter, and he takes the curveball in the dirt for ball 1. That's playing their middle infielders back, conceding the tying run. Rendon even with the bag at third, and Zimmerman halfway at first. You got Reyes with speed at third, Rivera at second. d'Arnaud took a call third strike his first time up after his career offensive night last night, and a curveball for a strike, 1-1. First multiple home run game of Travis's career, first 5 RBI game of his career, first 5 RBI game for a Mets catcher since Paul Lo Duca 10 years ago. And a couple to drive in here. The changeup misses, 2-1. So Strasburg in his first real trouble of the day. Wheeler's had nothing but trouble and has been able to find his way out of most of it. And now the Mets with a chance to tie or take the lead.
Infield's back. Got to get this run in. Have to.
Two one coming. And d'Arnaud takes a strike. 2-2.
2-1 fastball right down the middle. That's why I feel hitters have to be guessing. Cannot take a fastball down the middle. 2-1 with two stakes on base.
Not in a situation where a ground ball or a fly ball gets your run. Zach Wheeler waiting on deck, which makes it that much more important for d'Arnaud to get one in. In the dirt, stopped by Lobaton, and a full count to d'Arnaud.
Lobaton's a good backup catcher. Good stop.
So now if you're Strasburg in this situation with first base open and the pitcher on deck, how do you approach it?
Well, I think that he wants to get d'Arnaud out with a breaking pitch. That's what the majority of pitches he's thrown. Only the 2-1 fastball. So I think he's going to try to throw a breaking ball for a strike with the base open.
Reyes at third, Rivera at second with nobody out. And d'Arnaud hits one to second base. That'll get the run in. Throw goes to third for Murphy, and Rivera is out. The Mets tie the game as Reyes comes home, but Murphy aggressively going after Rivera, trying to go from second to third, and gets the first out of the inning. That's huge.
Boy, that's a real heads up good play by Murphy there. I mean, Rivera is in a spot where he's got to advance on that ball. The only issue is he paused. That is the issue, is that he should have known right away. A ground ball to second. Reyes is absolutely going to score. And just that little pause caught him.
So now instead of having the go-ahead run at third, d'Arnaud is at first with one out with Wheeler at the plate, and he squares and bunts it foul. Wheeler had a base hit his first time up, a hard knock to right center. And taking a long look down at Glenn Sherlock to see if the bunt is still on. Well, Murph plays his position aggressively. We know that, and sometimes it works for him and sometimes it doesn't. That time he made a terrific play.
He had every intent of going to first base, but once he saw Rivera pause that little half second, that's why he went to third.
Wheeler lays off the curveball, and it's 1-1.
Got to bunt the ball to Zimmerman. You know, if you watched the game last night, make him throw the ball around the diamond.
Michael Conforto waiting on deck. Mets have gotten Wheeler even here in the fifth inning, now trying to help himself. And Zach bunts him straight back to Strasburg. Has only played to first, and he kind of short-armed it. Got it to Murphy. 1-4 on the sacrifice, gets d'Arnaud to second.
Well, a big fella. He doesn't like throwing the ball around the diamond either.
That was a little surprising.
Yeah.
So the Mets have the go-ahead run in scoring position with two out. And now Michael Conforto will try and get d'Arnaud home. By the way, d'Arnaud now has 16 RBIs, one more than he had all of last year. It is the first time in Major League history that a player who had as many at-bats as d'Arnaud did last year exceeded his RBI total the next year before the end of April. It's never happened.
Wow.
Never happened before. Ball one to Conforto.
James been played a long time, hasn't he?
Long time. 150 years?
Yeah. Conforto's got to be smart here. There's the base open. Okay, he showed him a fastball in. He's going to try to get him out with a changeup. Or is it just for show?
No, the way Cabrera has looked today, I think I'd be inclined to be really careful to Conforto here.
Teams are in on Conforto. They all feel like he's going to be a big major league hitter. There's the changeup. Those two fastballs to start the at bat were to set up the changeup for 2-0. That's all it was. Now he's got him in a strange position. Now I think I would double up on the changeup after how Conforto swung at that. But if he gets a 2-2, then he can go back to that fastball in for a strike.
And he tries to hold on the changeup, and he stopped it in time. 3-1. So he did double up on the changeup, and Conforto that time able to hold back.
Now he doesn't. He's walking around the mound. He's not sure what he wants to do. He had only thought it through, Conforto swinging at that 2-1 changeup, but he did not.
I don't think he'd be heartbroken if he walks Conforto.
No, he's not. He can't give in to Conforto here.
That's Drupal Cabrera on deck. Strasburg has not walked about it today. And Conforto rockets one to deep right field. Back goes Harper near the wall. It's out of here. Michael Conforto gives the Mets the lead with a 2-run homer. Number 5 for Conforto, and the Mets go in front 3-1.
Well, Gary, that's why you don't give in to him right there on the 3-1 count. The target is inside for a fastball. It drifts over the middle of the plate. He had a plan when the at-bat started, and once it got to 3-1, he abandoned the plan, and it cost him.
So the Mets have put up a 3 spot in the 5th inning to reward Zach Wheeler for all his hard work, and now have a 3-1 lead. Now Cabrera shoots one foul.
Now it also takes a very special hitter like Michael Conforto to take advantage. Here's a side swing. I mean, he has a beautiful, classic, tight, compact swing when he's got it rocking.
50 at bats, 5 home runs for Michael Conforto. He's not sitting down again. And Cabrera trying to take advantage of Rendon playing deep, missed on the bunt attempt, and it's 0-2. Cabrera has a bunt hit already this year, but when he executed it, he didn't run up like that. He squared, laid it down, and then took off. It is circumstances that have allowed Conforto to get in the lineup every day. I don't think there are any circumstances that will get him out of there now. Grounded down to first, handled by Zimmerman. That ends the inning. But the Mets put up a 3 spot in the top of the 5th. Michael Conforto's 5th home run of the year gives the Mets the lead. Strasburg fell behind him, had over the non-obstruction call that Angel Hernandez declined to make against Asdrubal Cabrera. And while the Mets were on the field for this half inning, Worth was still out there talking to Angel almost through that entire inning break. Meanwhile, Zach Wheeler pitching with the lead for the first time today. Quickly falls behind Trey Turner 2-0. And here we go again. Wheeler's walked the leadoff hitter each of the last 3 innings, including Turner in the third. Yet he's been able to hold the Nats off the board in all 3 innings.
It's his first most important 0 to put up in his Mets uniform this year.
Well, he goes with a 2-0 slider and gets a big swing from Turner. 2-1. And Turner fouls it off, and now it's 2-2. Turner elevated to the leadoff spot with the injury to Adam Eaton, who went on the disabled list today with a left knee strain. They should know more after an MRI today, but looks like Eaton's going to be out a while, which means Turner will probably be a fixture in that leadoff spot. 2-2 coming. And misses low, full count.
Boy, not getting that low pitch from John Tompane. Not saying it's a strike, but that's a half dozen that have been close.
9th full count of this game for Zach Wheeler. It's only his 19th batter. 9 full counts. Turner grounds one down to Reyes. Tough hop, and it eats him up and goes into left field. And Turner is aboard.
Well, incredible topspin on this ball. And there's only really one way for Jose to make it. He tried to catch it on the in-between hop and get it off his body. His body was angled to kind of to left field, so it kind of glanced off him. It was either square up his body or to kind of play it back. He did it the right way, though. You can't play it back because of Turner's speed.
4th error of the season for Reyes. And a leadoff base runner again for the Nationals as Michael Taylor steps in. Taylor filling in for the injured Eaton is 2 for 2, a single and a double. You'd have to say that, you know, for a team that is 9-13, which is what the Mets are, which has championship aspirations, there are a lot of things to be concerned about right now. Infield defense is a huge one. Mets infield defense has been far less than they would have hoped.
Well, 2 things. One, you can probably take care of, and that is shore it up a little bit, make some of those tougher plays. But the second one that really bothers me is that the range is compromised for whatever reason. I don't know if it's a year older, injuries, operations this winter, don't know. But just from here, from our booth, looking down and watching the ball off the bat, and infielders not getting to that ball or getting close to that ball, either is a position issue or a range issue, and I guess we'll see how that pans out.
Toward the hole, and it's past Cabrera and into left field. Well, there's a perfect example of what you're talking about. A ground ball that off the bat you figure either Reyes or Cabrera might have a chance for, and neither one was able to get to it, and Taylor is 3 for 3.
You know, with Turner's speed, I don't know if that could have been a play at second base on this, but I will say, at this level, that ball's got to get a glove on it. You have to. If those are hits, it's going to be very difficult for your pitchers to have success.
Let me throw something at you. Reyes has looked a little unsure of himself at third base this year, different than he did last year. He looked like he was making the adjustment during the, less than half the season he played third last year. Cabrera looks like he has slowed down a little bit. Would you consider a position flop? Maybe move Reyes back to short where he might be more comfortable and Cabrera to third?
Yesterday, I would have considered that. That's something that I think might happen here.
So here's Harper with the tying runs on base, and he fouls one back.
And listen, I'm putting the thought into always that Cabrera plays hurt. He's compromised by leg injuries the last couple of years. He's not moving like he once did. There's a hero from last night, Edgin, getting at it again. So that's all part of it. This isn't, you know, personal.
No, it's about how you best utilize your personnel.
There you go.
And the other piece to that is that, you know, at some point, maybe it's later this year, maybe it's next year, Ahmed Rosario comes up to play shortstop for this team. I think that's the plan. You know, when that happens, I don't think any of us knows. I'm not sure even Sandy Alderson knows at this point. And at that point, you know, Cabrera is a guy you have an option on his contract for next year, and he might be your third baseman.
Yeah.
Or you could move Walker to third and play Cabrera at second if it comes to that. There are a lot of options as far as how you move your personnel. I mean, the plan was for Jose Reyes to be a super utility guy this year, not to be an everyday player. Harper hits it back to Wheeler. A chance for two. Cabrera with the turn for the 1-6-3 double play. Wheeler handles the hot shot back to the box, and the Mets double up Harper again, and they're 2 out.
Boy, that was a sweet play. I don't know if Zach caught this or the ball caught him. It doesn't matter. Got his glove in the position and then made a strike throw to Cabrera. And with Taylor bearing down on him, makes the easy turn.
Well, so far today, Zach Wheeler has been the second coming of Houdini. He has had more traffic. It was the Long Island Expressway at rush hour, and yet here he is. He's only had one run against him.
It was less perilous for the actors when I watched The Hurt Locker than it's been for Zach this afternoon.
I thought you were going to say Spider-Man. So now Turner's at third with 2 out. And here is Zimmerman, who's driven in the only Nats run. That was back in the first inning. And he takes low and in for ball 1. Zimmerman had the base hit in the first inning and then hit a hot shot the other way that T.J. Rivera made a nice play on in the third with a couple of men on. So Wheeler's had his share of defensive plays made behind him, and the one he just made himself. And now he bounces a slider, and it's 2-0 to Zimmerman. Daniel Murphy is on deck. Josh Edgin is on call in the bullpen. Wheeler at 93 pitches with a lot of stress. So you wonder whether if Zimmerman gets on here, whether Edgin might get the call. Robles up alongside him with Murphy next. And Worthen on the phone, seeing if those guys are ready.
This is his last batter if he doesn't retire.
And a borderline strike, 2-1.
I like how he's trying to attack Zimmerman, though, in. The book on Zimmerman, when he was at his best 4 or 5 seasons ago, you had to pitch him in. You have to crowd him because he wants to get those long arms extended.
Turner at third and 2 out. And Zimmerman fouls one away, 2-2.
Now you've made him aware in. Now you can throw that slider in the dirt away to get him to chase. Or he can come back in again. 3 times inside is a good pitch too for Wheeler.
Knott's got their leadoff man on for the 4th straight inning. Wheeler was able to get out of it the last 3. Does he have one more? Ground ball, slowly hit. Cabrera in, on the run, safe, and a run comes home. Infield hit for Zimmerman, drives in Turner to cut the Met lead to 3-2.
I guess this is what I'm talking about at home, guys. When you jam a guy and make a good pitch and it's a ground ball to the infield, it's got to be an out. Credit Zimmerman with incredible hustle to beat the play.
And that's going to be all for Zach Wheeler. A hard-working 4 2/3 for Zach today. He did a tremendous job of pitching his way around trouble, but he's out, and Josh Edgin, one of last night's heroes, is coming in. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. More science, less fear. 3-2 Mets in the 5th. We'll be right back. Well, last night Josh Edgin came in to get Bryce Harper, who got some advice from Daniel Murphy before his at bat. That didn't work out so well for Bryce.
Well, trying to give him some tablet love here on Edgin. Never faced Edgin, but Murphy certainly has to know Edgin from playing with him.
Murphy bats here with the tying run at first and 2 out. And he takes a slider off the plate for ball 1. Murphy struck out and been intentionally walked today. Well, an error and a play not made on the Mets infield, costing Zach Wheeler a run, his spot in this game, and a chance for a win. And Edgin evens the count on Murphy, 1-1.
You know, I know what Wheeler can be feeling, probably saying, hey, listen, we didn't make a play, and then they got an infield hit. I mean, why am I out of this game? But Terry wants to make sure that the lefty-lefty matchup is here.
And, you know, he had a very stressful 96 pitches. Toronto knocks it down, 2-1. Wheeler goes 4 2/3, 5 hits, 4 walks, 1 intentional, 4 strikeouts, 2 runs, and responsible for Zimmerman at first. Anthony Rendon will be next. And Murphy gets jammed of his own volition. I'm not sure what Murph was thinking swinging at that ball.
Well, I think Murph sensed he was going to get a fastball, trying to get the head out, and he couldn't stop his swing.
I mean, if he hadn't swung, it might have hit him.
That was a Bernie Carbo from 1975 right there.
Don't say that, or the next ball over. You know.
That's right.
2-2. In the air to right field, chasing Bruce back a couple of strides. Jay's got it, and that ends the inning. That's get an unearned run. Edgin gets Murphy to end the inning, and the Mets lead 3-2 after 5. Hit for Ryan Zimmerman, where Cabrera was unable to get him at first base.
Well, you see how deep Cabrera is playing. See his reaction? It was a little late, but you couldn't fault him for the hustle in, the transfer. Everything worked perfectly there. I guess all I'm saying is that with a guy like Zimmerman running, Trey Turner, I have no problem. Zimmerman running on a ball that he hits off the end of the bat, that's a 3-hopper to the infield. You have to expect that to be an out. Have to.
Jay Bruce leads off against Steven Strasburg in the 6th with the Mets up by a run, and he pulls one to the right side. Murphy's got the 1-hopper and throws him out. 1 pitch and 1 retired for Strasburg in the 6th. So 1 out now. Neil Walker has been up twice and twice has grounded out to the right side. Mets 3 runs 5 hits. The Nationals 2 runs 5 hits. Strasburg had the lead until the 5th. TJ Rivera double to set things up. Mets got a run on a fielder's choice, and then Michael Conforto a 2-run homer to give the Mets the lead. That's got 1 back, an unearned run on the bottom of the 5th. So Wheeler went 4 2/3, allowed 2 runs, only 1 earned. So baby steps, but some better results for Wheeler over these last couple of starts against Washington. Another ground ball to the right side, and Murphy able to scoop this one, and there are 2 out. Our next picks telecast tomorrow. Mets take on the Nationals. Coverage begins at 1 o'clock with Spectrum Picks pregame right here on New York's very own Picks 11.
You know, Gary, I think people tend to forget because it's the end of April. This is an experimental year for Zach Wheeler. This is a year where he has innings counts, pitch counts, all of those things as you're trying to get him through this season healthy. I mean, really, that's your goal for Wheeler. That his innings are spent at the big league level, whatever that limit may be.
Half swing and a miss by Granderson. Curtis today has lined out to center and fouled out to the catcher. 0 for 7 in this series. 1 hit in his last 24 at bats. And Curtis drives one to left center toward the gap. Worth with a dive makes the catch. Now Jason Worth with some full extension, able to take an extra base hit away from Curtis Granderson. One older outfielder robs another. That gets Strasburg through the top of the 6th. Still 3-2 New York. Michael Conforto has the biggest hit on this warm afternoon in D.C. as the Mets try and make it 2 straight over the Nats. They lead 3-2 as we go to the bottom of the 6th, and Hansel Robles will come on to pitch for New York.
Yeah, with the right-handed hitting Rendon in. Edgin was in there just for the 1 out that he got on Murphy.
Robles last pitch Wednesday night against the Braves and pitched 2 scoreless innings, gave up a single and a walk, and then proceeded to retire 6 in a row. Anthony Rendon came up with the bases loaded in the 3rd inning and hit a bullet to center field that Curtis Granderson caught. That was one of the great escapes for Zach Wheeler during his outing today. Rendon has also walked 0 for 1 and thinks about bunting and fouls it back with Reyes playing very deep at 3rd. And Reyes not showing much inclination to get much closer. Ball and a strike to Rendon with Worth to follow, and then Lobaton for the Nationals in the 6th. Zach Wheeler went 4 2/3, gave up 5 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned. Josh Edgen got Daniel Murphy to fly out to end the 5th with the tying run on base. And now Robles in the 6th. Finds the outside corner. It's 1-2 to Rendon.
13 outs for the Mets bullpen today.
1 down. 12 to go.
There you go.
1-2 to Rendon. Way outside. That one might have hit the mascot if there was one back there.
That would have taken out our cameraman Pete if that happened at Citi Field.
Well, he almost got nailed by R.A. Dickey the other day when he was taking shots of R.A.'s knuckleball warming up. Two coming, and Rendon goes down on strikes. So Robles gets Rendon with a slider for the first out of the home 6th. Well, the Nats have more wins than any other team in Major League Baseball over the last 5 years, but they've never gotten over the hump in the postseason. Fell to the Cardinals in 5 games and a huge late inning comeback in the last game in 2012. Lost to the Giants in 14, and then last year lost a game 5 to the Dodgers.
They haven't even been able to get to the championship series. That's and all for a lot of different reasons. You know, the first time, most of the talk was on Strasburg not pitching the final game. They've had a bullpen blow up when they had a win it seemed within their grasp. They had Jordan Zimmerman, who had one of the finest games ever in a Nats uniform. 8 2/3 taken out of the game. That game went 18 innings. But Ishikawa hit the home run to win that game. That was a different game.
That was Brandon Belt, I think.
Brandon Belt, okay.
But yeah, I mean, all that has happened, and it's you know, you hate to say that it's karma.
Yeah.
Because of the Strasburg decision in 2012. Because the organization's attitude was, well, you know, he'll get back there and we'll win lots of championships. Well, Strasburg didn't pitch in the postseason again last year.
Well, they were right on half of it. They have been getting there on a consistent basis, but
Worth is grounded out and walked 0 for 1. Was involved in that odd base running play in the 4th inning. Steve Hurt from the Elias Sports Bureau just sent me a note about the non-obstruction call, and was talking about a play that happened in a postseason game a number of years ago where an obstruction was called and then waved off because the runner did not run full speed to the next base. That's hit sharply but right to Reyes for the 2nd out. So I'm wondering whether that comes into play, that Angel Hernandez might have actually called obstruction and then waved it off because Worth half-stepped it to 3rd base.
You know, I don't think he half-stepped it, though. I thought he was running pretty hard. Nice play by Jose, made like a goalie. I was always taught as a kid, and you know, the rule book seemingly changes every year. But I was always taught if the infielder obstructs you, then you continue as hard as you can to the next base, and the obstruction will stay on, because the reason you do that is because you never know how the play is going to go. So if that ball goes in center field, you run hard to third, they tag you out. Obstruction works. If Walker throws it over the third baseman's head, you can come home and score a run. So that's why you go hard. I always thought it was a free play, but rules have changed so many times.
I just will be very interested to hear the umpire's explanation after the game, if indeed
if you hear it
goes talks to them. But it was clear that Cabrera was impeding the progress of Worth, and he was not in possession of the ball or making a play on the ball, and that is that's the rule book definition of what obstruction is. And it did also appear that Angel Hernandez was pointing at Cabrera as though he were calling obstruction. So maybe they did wave it off.
Yeah.
So we'll find out more later. And if it turns out to be a one-run game, it makes it even more intriguing. 2-1 to Lobaton with 2 out and nobody on. And the slider in for a strike.
Good pitch by Robles to get back in that count.
Strasburg's out on deck, so he's continuing on. Nobody up in the bullpen. Only 82 pitches through 6 innings for Strasburg. So he should have plenty left, particularly working on 8 days rest. Coming off the paternity list after the birth of his daughter earlier this week. And a half swing, strike 3. Lobaton is out, and Robles has himself a 1-2-3 inning with a couple of strikeouts. We played 6 in D.C. Mets lead at 3-2. Brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Anywhere else in the world where they talk about going to the mall, they're talking about going shopping, not in Washington. Meanwhile, Jason Worth is still talking to Angel Hernandez about the obstruction call that was not made. So it's weighing heavily on his mind. Let's check out the Mets' upcoming schedule. Go to pix11.com/team travel for great deals on Mets away games from cheapoair.com. Final game of this series on Pix 11 tomorrow. Then we're back on SNY from Atlanta on Monday. 4 games at New SunTrust Park. And then the Mets get home to open a series with the Marlins Friday night. You know what that series with the Marlins is? It's the end of this 32-game stretch to start the season, all against the National League East.
Good. There's other teams out there we can play.
After the Marlins come to Citi Field, the Giants, who are in a whole nother division, come in. Jose Reyes leading off the 7th, and he pokes one foul. The Giants announcing yesterday that Madison Bumgarner will be out at least 3 months after his dirt bike accident.
Just horrible news. Some positives for them, though. They played a little better lately, and got a young kid, Christian Arroyo, who's a lot of fun to watch.
He had a game-winning home run last night against the Padres. Home run in the bottom of the 8th. 1-2 to Reyes, who had a broken bat single to right and scored a run in the 5th inning.
They still got some pitching. They're going to throw Johnny Cueto at you and Matt Moore
and Matt Cain is pitching much better.
Yeah.
Bullpen appears to be solidifying a little bit with Melanson having struggled on opening day, but he's been better since. Reyes hits it to right center, but overcomes Taylor, and he runs it down. 1 away.
Even Reyes' outs have some thump on it. Nice to see.
Definitely hitting it with a little more authority than he was a week ago. Here's DJ Rivera, who had a big hit in the midst of that 3-run 5th inning for the Mets. He banged a double off the base of the fence in left field. So TJ is now 3 for 6 with a pair of doubles in this series, getting a chance to play for at least a few days. Lucas Duda started his rehab stint last night, and the belief in the organization is that Lucas will be ready to go when he's eligible to come off the disabled list, which will be Monday in Atlanta. Of course, Duda suffered a hyperextended elbow on a play at first base where his arm got run into. Fernando Salas up in the Mets bullpen. To another Rivera. Fastball, strike 2-1. Steven Strasburg, the #1 overall pick in the draft in 2009.
28 years old. That's prime time for a pitcher.
Signed a 7-year, $175 million extension that just kicked in this year.
Do you find that an interesting contract at all? I mean, he's done a lot in the game. He's done a lot for the Nationals. The injury factor had to play in that a little bit. And correct me if I'm wrong. He's a Scott Boras client, right?
Yes.
So most of the time you think of Scott Boras clients, you know, playing out their eligibility and having a chance to really make a big play. But for Strasburg, I mean, I guess if you're offered 175, how do you say no?
And there's also a question with teams a little less willing to give out that kind of money, whether he would have gotten as much on the free agent market as he got from the Nationals.
Yeah.
I mean, given his injury history, I mean, would he have gotten 7 years from another organization? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know, they structure contracts, not all contracts, but they structure contracts here a little differently because they have this Masson fight and the local TV, and sometimes a lot of the money's deferred. So if you're an athlete that's comfortable with that.
Toward the middle of the diamond, and Rivera sneaks through another base hit. So the back-to-back multiple hit performances for TJ Rivera, and he's aboard with 1 out.
Well, he finds a hole. Strasburg always follows through towards the first base side, so that's wide open.
You're talking about Strasburg's contract. He gets paid through 2030. It's not quite a Bobby Bonilla contract, but you know, he gets some out years.
Scherzer through 2028. Strasburg through 2030. Whole new cast of characters while they're sipping on a mint julep, still collecting.
Clipping coupons. It's a wonderful thing.
It really is. I'm just jealous.
Aren't we all? Travis d'Arnaud is 0 for 2. Drove in a run with a fielder's choice grounder his last time up. Kevin Plawecki, who had a big pinch hit for the Mets last night, is out on deck. And the Nats get their bullpen cranking. Well, that's what Strasburg has done. Top 5 lowest career ERAs among active pitchers. 0-1 to d'Arnaud. Slowly hit. Turner in. Murphy with the turn. Double play. Side retired. 6-4-3 to get Strasburg through the top of the 7th. Stretch time in D.C. Mets 3, Nats 2.
Well, I'm actually with my cousin today.
Oh! Annual visit to Walter Reed Medical Center, and got a chance to catch up with some of the injured veterans and a lot of the staff at Walter Reed, where they do such incredible work. Little foosball, little air hockey, picnic.
It's one of the best things the Mets do. They threw a barbecue for 400 people there, and a lot of the people that are at Walter Reed were saying that there's a lot of teams that come through. The Mets do the biggest barbecue and they bring the most people. So congratulations to the Mets for continuing to do that every year.
Well, that was odd. Terry Collins coming out to talk to Travis d'Arnaud as d'Arnaud is getting ready to catch Hansel Robles here in the 7th. Travis had just grounded into the double play a moment ago. Got any clue?
Oh no, I didn't. I watched him. He didn't seem to be laboring the first base.
Chris Heisey will pinch hit for Steven Strasburg, leading off in the bottom of the 7th. And Heisey takes a first pitch strike. So Strasburg done after 7, allowed 3 runs, 6 hits. Did not walk a batter. Struck out only 2 in 7 innings, which is extremely unusual for Strasburg. Gave up the home run to Conforto. That has the Mets in front.
Solid game by Strasburg. Made one tactical error on Conforto. That really was his only big mistake.
Andy Romero, the left-hander, is up in the Nats bullpen. Heisey, then Turner, then Taylor for the Nats in the 7th. And Heisey takes a slider for a strike, 1-2. Jerry Blevins is up in the Mets bullpen with an eye toward Bryce Harper, who's due up 4th in the inning. On the outside corner, got him looking. So Heisey is struck out to start the home 7th. 4 batters, 3 strikeouts for Hansel Robles.
Boy, 2 sliders and a dart by Robles. Can't pitch anyone any tougher than that.
So 1 out, and now Trey Turner. Robles is continuing to establish himself as that guy that Terry Collins can go to for a second inning with some regularity.
Well, he has a rubber arm. The whole thing about Robles is that when he gets fastball happy, he can get in trouble. When he gets control issues, of course, like any other pitcher, in trouble.
2-0 to Turner, who's walked and reached on an error. He scored a run today, 0 for 2. Zach Wheeler had himself quite an outing today. Gave up only 1 earned run over 4 2/3 despite consistent traffic on the base paths. And that just missed. 3-0. I mean, the Nats had the leadoff man on in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Yeah.
And they got just an unearned run out of that. Michael Taylor, who's 3 for 3 today, is on deck. And there's ball 4. And Turner will go to first base. He's walked for the 2nd time. It's a dangerous way to live, putting that kind of base stealer on.
Yeah, I think the track meet would start now for Turner as Jerry Blevins loosens up in the Mets bullpen.
Well, you got Harper on deck, so this will likely be Robles' last batter as he faces Michael Taylor. Taylor's 3 for 3, a double to right center, single to left, and then another single that got through the hole into left field. Turner 3 stolen bases on the year. And Robles almost had him flat-footed that time.
Well, we saw Terry Collins earlier in the year pitch out. That's something you would think about here. I mean, not on this pitch, but after 2 times throwing over, I think Robles is safe to throw 1 pitch, but you'd think about pitching out at some point.
And Taylor trying to bunt, and it hits him in the batter's box, a foul ball. He was not bunting to sacrifice. He was bunting for a hit, and Reyes does not like to play in, even against guys who are likely to bunt.
He's comfortable in the shortstop depth at third base position.
Reyes stays deep. Robles steps off. Well, Michael Taylor came into the day with 2 hits on the season. He's got 3 hits today. Taking advantage of his opportunity. Swings through the fastball from Robles, and it's 0-2. And Dusty Baker said today that Taylor's going to get an opportunity here. He said, in typical Dusty fashion, he said, I went to Michael and I told him he's blessed that he's getting another chance.
Blessed.
Yes. Because, you know, he's had several chances to hang on to a job, and one of the reasons Adam Eaton is here is because Michael Taylor wasn't what the Nats felt they wanted in center field. But here he's getting another chance. Swing and a miss, struck him out. 4th strikeout for Robles, and there are 2 down in the inning. Now Bryce Harper. It's been a rough day for Bryce so far.
Breaking ball by Wheeler, and then he dotted him with a fastball inside. Double play, but hit that ball hard. Just a fantastic play by Wheeler for the turn.
So Harper will be coming up, and he'll face Jerry Blevins, who will come out of the Mets bullpen. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. More science, less fear. Blevins coming in. We'll be right back. Well, Jerry Blevins faced his former teammate Bryce Harper last night and struck him out.
Well, Blevins has been one of the stars out of this bullpen so far. Has to get another huge out here this afternoon.
Harper is 1 for 8 in this series with 5 strikeouts and 2 double plays. Batting with Turner at first and 2 out. And Blevins starts him off with a curveball, and Harper can merely wave 0-1.
Watch his body as this ball comes in. He pulls off it, misses that ball by a foot.
Turner's yet to move off first base today. He's been on base 3 times. Has not attempted to steal yet. And a fastball strike. And Blevins gets ahead on Harper 0-2, and Harper is hot.
Tom Payne has had a strike zone that is very favorable to the hitters this afternoon. So you've seen this confrontation between the hitter and the umpire getting a little closer than it used to in the day.
Used to be you couldn't do that without getting run. There goes Turner. Harper takes the curve outside. Huge jump for Turner, and he steals the base without a throw. His 4th of the year. So that puts the tying run in scoring position with 2 out.
Well, he just went on first movement by Blevins and got lucky. Picked the right time.
Also maybe the fastest man in baseball.
Well, he knows Blevins' entire focus is on the batter in the batter's box.
One-two coming to Harper. And he lays off that curveball, and it's 2-2. Ryan Zimmerman is on deck. Fernando Salas continues to get busy in the bullpen. So if Harper gets on, you would expect to see Salas in to face Zimmerman. Two coming. Struck him out. Blevins fans Harper with a curveball. That's 6 strikeouts in 2 games in this series for Bryce Harper. Blevins gets him for the 2nd straight day to keep the Mets up 3-2. The Capitol Dome looking resplendent after its refurbishing. We have a great view of the Capitol Dome from where we sit high atop Nationals Park. It's a straight shot down the left field line, and there it is in all its glory. Here's your Mets box score brought to you by Ford. Michael Conforto's 2-run homer put the Mets in front, and they've been able to stay there. Great relief pitching by Hansel Robles and Jerry Blevins to keep the Mets in the lead. And now Enny Romero is in to pitch for the Nats as we go to the 8th.
I think Sousa would be appalled that he's in our broadcast.
I mean, I think Sousa might be here all day. Juan Lagares will pinch hit for New York, batting for Blevins. Enny Romero worked a hitless 9th inning last night. And Lagares takes a fastball strike 1-1. You would assume that with Lagares pinch hitting here in the 8th, that he'll stay in for defense as well. Came in late for defense last night. Addison Reed is up in the Mets bullpen. Stay connected with a fully customizable experience with the MLB.com at Bat app. Get New York Mets home screen icons and app features, as well as game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcasts, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat today. Michael Conforto on deck, then has Drupal Cabrera for the Mets in the 8th.
Ooh, just quick pitched him.
Well, it's not just the Mets who can do that.
That's right.
Anybody can do that.
Troy Hawkins, the originator.
Full count to Lagares. Steven Strasburg went 7, allowed 3 runs, 6 hits, no walks, 2 strikeouts, and the Conforto home run. 94 pitches for Strasburg, who has not lost a game yet this year and is on the short end so far today. 3-2 from Romero, and Lagares pops one up into shallow center. Ball carrying a little bit for Taylor, and that's the first out. Get to Citi Field Friday, May 5th. The Mets play the Marlins at 7 o'clock. All fans in attendance will receive a Noah Syndergaard t-shirt courtesy of Delta Airlines. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Free Shirt Fridays. Well, here's Conforto, who got ahead in the count in the 5th inning against Steven Strasburg. Got a fastball to hit and made no mistake. Parked it over the scoreboard in right field for his 5th of the year. Also has a single and a stolen base today, 2 for 3.
So Mets have scored what, 10 runs in the last 2 days, 7 of them coming via the home run.
That's about right.
Well, Conforto's bat makes a different sound when it makes contact.
And we got to hear it twice there.
He's that good, like New York, you know?
Romero keeping it inside. 2-1.
I love all these at bats he's getting against lefties. It's only going to give him more and more experience.
There's Drupal Cabrera waiting. Conforto looking for his first hit against a lefty this year, 0 for 5. Romero behind him, 3-1. And Michael lofts this one deep left center, headed back toward the wall, and it's out of here. Michael Conforto with his 2nd home run of the day. He hits it off the left-hander. Number 6 for Conforto, and the Mets lead it 4-2.
Boy, what a big hit. What a big home run. Adding on to the lead, and his first hit against the left-hander.
First time in Conforto's career that he's hit 2 home runs in a game. One night after Travis d'Arnaud did it for the first time.
Gets the count in his favor. Gets a fastball just like he did against Strasburg, and he didn't miss it. That's what makes him so dangerous. He has the ability to go coast to coast.
That is his first career home run against a left-hand pitcher.
Watch the contact here, folks. I mean, it's almost a beautiful line from his shoulders down the arms, down the length of the bat. As contact is made, some serious power from his toes all the way to his hands.
Well, that's a doubly important hit for Conforto. When as Cabrera chops one to third, Rendon has to wait for it, and the quick throw in time to get Cabrera for the second out. When you consider that before that at bat, Michael Conforto had 67 career at bats against left-handers. He was hitting 119 with no home runs. Well, he just hit a 99-mile-an-hour fastball from a left-hander over the left center field fence.
Well, it's you know, he worked really hard this winter, and he wanted a shot, and it was a deep outfield, and when they didn't trade Bruce, he looked like the odd man out. He got a break at the end of spring training to even be on the roster instead of going to Las Vegas, and he's made the most of it.
I can almost certainly say he will never be the odd man out again. It's inconceivable that he was in the first place, but you understand that the Mets had commitments to veteran players and they didn't trade Jay Bruce. But it's impossible to conceive of the Mets going forward with Michael Conforto playing virtually every day. Murphy throws out Bruce. That retires the side. Conforto's second home run of the day. His first multiple home run game. His first ever home run against a left-hander. And gives the Mets a little more breathing room. 4-2 as we go to the bottom of the 8th in D.C. Young folks, that's the Watergate Hotel.
How many of our young folks know that history lesson of the Watergate Hotel?
I don't know, but we're not ready to do a history lesson now, so we'll merely give you the present day, which is Juan Lagares playing center field, and Addison Reed trying to bounce back after a rough night last night on to pitch.
Well, if they had a little more security like Lagares, maybe they wouldn't have had such a big problem. Addison Reed, who really struggled yesterday, gave up a home run. Clean inning needed today.
And he comes in to face Ryan Zimmerman, who hit his first pitch over the fence in right field last night. Zimmerman, 2 hits, 2 RBIs today, and now leading the National League in RBIs.
And while Michael Conforto saluting the orange-clad Met fans who have made it down to D.C. today, they are saluting him right back.
It wouldn't take much for him to become a little matinee idol for those folks.
Zimmerman clocks another one deep left field. Forget that. That is long gone. That's even deeper than the one d'Arnaud hit last night to the same area. Zimmerman just on fire. His 11th home run, his second in 2 nights against Addison Reed. And again, the Met lead is a single run at 4-3.
From up here, that looked like a little breaking pitch from Reed. And Zimmerman waited on it beautifully. No, that's fastball in. Not enough on it. Moonshot.
That's a good 460 feet out there over the bullpen and 20 rows back behind it. And it's a very troubling note for the Mets that Addison Reed has now given up 4 home runs this year, as many as he gave up all of last year. Rivera playing along the line in the right spot to take that ground ball from Murphy for the first down.
Reed's reaction. He doesn't have to look at it. He knows.
So Addison Reed, who was so dependable last year, began this season filling in as the closer for the first 2 weeks with Familia down, but he's not in a good mode right now. Now protecting a 1-run lead. Here's Rendon, who's 0 for 2 and a walk. And a slider to start him off. You know, the Mets bullpen up until that point, terrific job today. Edgin, Robles, Blevins, Sean Kelly up in the Nats bullpen. But relief pitchers, sometimes from one year to the next, you're just not sure what you're going to get.
Well, I mean, plus he was so good, so good last year. I mean, really, almost a perfect year for a bullpen guy. And I think part of it is that he was excellent, but also sometimes occasionally that ball that he just threw to Zimmerman in a magical year has popped up instead of hit 460 feet.
Well, we said it all the time last year. You know, he'd throw fastballs that looked hittable that weren't hittable. Well, this year they've been more hittable. Grounded down to Reyes. A slight bobble, but the throw on target to get Rendon for the second out. Out of Town Scores brought to you by the Honda Dream Garage Sales Event. Imagine that, a couple of early day games on a Saturday. Yankees just pounded. Brett Gardner with his first 2 home runs of the year, adding to that Bronx Bomber barrage.
Got to be a demoralized Orioles team after coughing up those leads they had.
8-run lead last night. There's Jason Worth with 2 out and nobody on. Worth is 0 for 2 and a walk.
So if Reed can get through Worth, be another interesting outing for Familia, unless the Mets can add on.
Well, you're back to 8-9-1, the same as he faced last night. Difference is you don't have Edgin waiting in the bullpen. He and Blevins have already been used. You do have Josh Smoker.
You might get Wieters as a pinch hitter.
Worth takes a big cut. 1-2. Last time up, Worth hit a bullet right to Reyes.
It's a few times now we've seen him miss that pitch that starts down the middle, kind of jumps up and in.
1-2. Fouled away. Let's check the Nationals box score, brought to you by Ford. 3 hits apiece for Zimmerman, who's driven in 3 runs, and Taylor. And those are all the hits. 2 guys with 6 hits. The rest of the team blanked. It's not something you see often. I mean, you expected Harper and Murphy to do what they're doing early this year. I don't think too many people expected Ryan Zimmerman to get off to this kind of start.
You know, Gary, even worse. I think there certainly were some people that thought that Ryan's days were done as a real good player. He's showing them wrong.
Worth cracks one deep down the left field line, hooking off the wall. Trying for second. Worth, the throw by Conforto offline, and Worth has a double. Another bullet off the bat of Worth, and this one hard off the padding on the outfield fence.
Conforto had a chance at him if he didn't bobble and made an accurate throw. A lot of ifs, of course. You know what's interesting is Familia on top of his game. You might see him here. Not today.
So now, with the tying run at second base, Dusty Baker will bring in his #1 catcher, Matt Wieters, to bat for Jose Lobaton in the #8 spot. Dan Worthen out to the mound to talk to a suddenly struggling Addison Reed. These are not easy times for Reed. He's given up a home run and a double today, gave up a homer and 2 singles in a third of an inning last night. And now Wieters, who hit a 2-run homer off Jacob deGrom last night.
Well, Wieters had that big home run there against deGrom, but also had a base hit against Familia in the 9th inning.
So you've got Wieters pinch hitting for Lobaton. Adam Lind is out on deck to bat for the pitcher, and Josh Smoker has begun to throw in the Mets bullpen with an eye toward Lind, the left-hand batter. That's 4 lefties in their bullpen. They've already used 2 of them today. And now Wieters gets under one into right field. Bruce battling the sun, and he's got a beat on it. Side retired. Zimmerman's home run gets the Nats closer. Another rough outing for Reed, but he survives. 4-3 Mets. Baseball is brought to you by Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram. We go to the 9th inning in D.C. Mets trying to beat the Nationals for the 2nd straight day in another hard-fought affair. And Sean Kelly, who has been closing games for the Nats, will come on with his team down by a run in the ninth.
Yeah, getting some work, that high ERA, even though he's 3 for 4 in saves. From Kelly, usually you're going to see a lot of sliders.
Neil Walker leads off for the Mets in the ninth. Pitcher spot due up next, as yet nobody out on deck. And then Jose Reyes up third in the inning. And Jeurys Familia getting ready in the Mets bullpen. And a first pitch breaking ball from Kelly for ball 1. Walker's been up 3 times, grounded out to the right side all 3. Rene Rivera out on deck to pinch hit. And Walker fouls it away, 1-1. There is Familia, who got pulled in the midst of a save opportunity last night. And getting ready for another save chance today. Two and 1 to Walker.
Pretty interesting how Jeurys comes out today from yesterday being taken out of the ball game.
Off speed, ripped foul down the right field line. 2-2.
Sometimes it's good pitching with a little chip on your shoulder, a little anger.
Well, he wasn't happy.
Well, it shouldn't be.
But, you know, as Terry Collins said to him after the game, he said, hey, you're my closer. That's the way it's going to be. But, you know, his season got off to a late start. He hasn't been sharp. It was his first save chance of the year. And now, presumably, he'll get another one today.
And Terry admitted if they hadn't lost 10 of 11, maybe he would have stayed with Familia. But
Walker pops one up along the left field line. Rendon back into foul territory and reels it in. Nice play by Rendon. 1 out.
Well, it's a nice play by the third baseman. He went a long way. Caught that right over his shoulder.
So 1 out. Now Rene Rivera batting for Addison Reed in the 5th spot of the batting order. Mets are carrying 4 bench players right now, including 2 catchers. Got Plawecki and Rivera on the bench. Nothing at 2.
All right-handed too, right?
Yeah, it's not the ideal roster construction,
No.
but it's what the Mets have for the moment with the injuries they've had. Plawecki came through with a big pinch hit in last night's game. In the last of the ninth, the Nationals are due to send up 9, 1, and 2 in the order. So probably Adam Lind or Wilmer Defoe to pinch hit, then Turner and Taylor, and then the 4th man up in the inning, Bryce Harper.
Defoe hit a bullet off Jacob deGrom to end the 7th inning last night. Granderson made a great diving catch.
Interesting to note that the Nats, when they put Adam Eaton on the disabled list, called up a young outfielder, Rafael Bautista, who is extremely fast. So another guy Dusty Baker can use as a pinch runner perhaps in the 9th inning. And Rivera with a half swing and a miss, and Kelly has a strikeout, and that's the 2nd out. So 2 out and nobody on in the top of the 9th, and now Jose Reyes 1 for 3 on the day, had a broken bat single in the 5th. He's now hit in 5 straight games.
You can just tell when hitters are feeling better about themselves. A little more of a strut there for Reyes to the plate than it was 2 weeks ago.
Well, if he continues to hit, perhaps he can shore up the consistency on defense that has been plaguing him early in the year. And Kelly out ahead of him 0-2. 1-2 to Reyes.
In the air to deep right field. Back goes Harper to the warning track at the wall. It's out of here. Jose Reyes with a home run. Second home run of the year for Reyes, and the Mets have the insurance run they need in the ninth. It's 5-3 New York.
Yeah, I'd say he's looking more comfortable.
Yeah, I'd strut too. Those are the dugouts how I remember them being.
I don't know if we were supposed to hear that. Here's T.J. Rivera. Rivera having another good day with the bat. A single and a double. He's 2 for 3.
He knew it right away too. Gave a little Ricky Henderson a little picket.
That's third home run of the day. Conforto had the first 2.
You know, when players break out of a slump, their reaction really a lot of times is, you know, anger. Like, how could you believe I wouldn't get out of this? But it's not really that. It's the player not believing that he can get out of it. That's how he got there in the first place.
Rivera flies one out to left, and Worth is there waiting. That retires the side, but Jose Reyes' home run gives the Mets a 2-run edge. Reyes' second of the year. Now the Mets will hand it off to Familia for the bottom of the ninth.
But yeah, I probably wouldn't have done that, John. Had we, you know, if we'd have won 7 in a row, I probably would have left Drees out there, because that's what he's here to do. And you know, we're going to look up, and I know in a month, and he's going to have 20 saves, and he'll be okay. But as he's getting his feet back on the ground here, it's you know, I just didn't like the matchup.
Terry Collins talking about his decision last night to pull Jeurys Familia in the midst of a save opportunity in favor of Josh Edgin. It worked out for the Mets. Familia clearly was unhappy about it, but he's back out there today to try for his first save of the year. Rene Rivera will stand to catch Familia in the ninth.
You know, in talking to Terry Collins today about Familia, the things he would like to see on the mound that are a little better than what you've seen so far. Of course, the control. He'd like to see that bottom of the sinker dropping out, but also he was throwing a split finger kind of change that was really effective against left-handed hitters. He has not thrown that so far this year. He thinks he's got to get back to throwing it more.
And he really didn't throw it last year either.
Yeah.
It was in 2015 that he really introduced that pitch and used it a lot. Adam Lind will pinch hit, leading off for the Nats in the ninth. Lind, then Turner, then Taylor, with the Mets up 5-3. And the first pitch outside for ball one. Familia last night gave up 3 straight hits to Wieters, to Lind, and to Eaton. That ill-fated infield hit for Eaton that resulted in him getting hurt at first base. He then struck out Trey Turner with a high fastball, and it was at that point that he got pulled from the game. And I think that's probably what upset him more than anything else.
Made it more shocking. He probably felt as though he had turned the corner.
Fouled away. Get to Citi Field Saturday, May 6th. The Mets play the Marlins at 7 p.m. First 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a Noah Syndergaard hair hat, courtesy of Majestic. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. 3 infielders on the right side against Adam Lind, a power hitter. Familia had 1 and 2. The quick pitch, and it's fouled off. 99 miles an hour.
I have to say that Adam Lind, as we work through this season, has had great swings at Familia the last 2 nights.
Lind basically took the job that Clint Robinson had had with the Nats the last 2 years. It's that big left-handed bat off the bench. 1-2. Lifted down the left field line. Conforto racing over. Gets there. 1 out.
Boy, that was a good defensive configuration. They had Conforto playing as straight up in left field. If he was playing any bit the pull, he never would have reached that.
So 1 out and nobody on. And now Trey Turner, who has walked twice and reached on an error today. He's stolen a base, has scored a run, 0 for 2. Well, if Familia wants to save himself any grief, he'll get the next 2 hitters out and avoid facing Harper. And he gets a slider in for a strike. I might add that there's nobody up in the Mets bullpen. We did see Josh Smoker up in the last inning, but it's clear that Terry has no plan to pull Familia if he gets to Harper.
This is his game.
Fouled away. The Mets have already used Josh Edgin, who got Harper last night, to into that double play, and Jerry Blevins. Coming up next on SNY, it's WB Mason post-game live. Another fascinating game to dissect. Familia ahead 0-2 on Turner. Slowly hit down to first. Big hop comes up for Rivera. He snow cones it and makes the play. 2 down. That ball took an unlikely hop, and TJ Rivera did well to stay with it.
Good play by Rivera. Seemed like the simplest of plays, but once it hits that eaten up area where all the base runners are, it took a big hop.
And that big glove paying dividends again. And so the Nationals are down to their final out with Michael Taylor at the plate. Taylor, playing for the injured Adam Eaton, has gone 3 for 4, 2 singles and a double. And Bryce Harper looms on deck. And Taylor half swings. He stopped it in time. 1-0. If the Mets hang on and win this game, Hansel Robles will get credit for the victory.
Again? He's been great at those, right?
The vulture. Zach Wheeler went 4 2/3, troubled but ultimately successful. Taylor swings at the slider and misses, and Familia gets even 1-1.
April 28th, 2017, the wake-up call for Familia.
Hoping to keep Harper parked in that on-deck circle. One and one to Taylor. And he takes a strike. And now the Nationals are down to their final strike. One, two. Inside. 2-2 to Taylor. "51 saves last year for J. Familia, a Mets club record. Looking for #1 today.
Struck him out, and the ball game is over. J. Familia bounces back after disappointment yesterday, gets his first save of the season. Michael Conforto hits 2 home runs for the first time in the major leagues, and the Mets have taken 2 straight from the Nationals as they win today 5-3.
Well, after their manager talked to them after the loss at home and said, can't worry about the people that aren't here, concentrate on the people that are here. Darno yesterday with a 2 home run game. Conforto with a 2 home run game today.
Well, it's been a big bounce back the last 2 days. Last night, Travis d'Arnaud had his first career multiple home run game. Today was Michael Conforto.